Picture this. You have a long commute to work and just want to listen to a good podcast, but there are too many choices. Anime, film, comic books, science. What will you do? Well, never fear. We are here with all of your podcast needs. Welcome, all freaks and geeks. We are the Square Roundtable Podcast, a collective of Black nerds discussing all things anime, comics, science, and pop culture related. Please join us for our weekly podcast every Friday on squareroundtablepod.fandomlim.com, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Be there and be square.
For real, C-Rock?
Rocky is back. This time with Sly Stallone writing, starring, and directing. Since the first film was so financially viable, and because it won the Academy Award for Best Picture, it was a no-brainer decision to greenlight a sequel to Rocky. Originally called Rocky II: Redemption, but eventually shortened to just Rocky II. The plot of this film focuses on the inevitable rematch between the Italian stallion Rocky Balboa and the reigning heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed. Attempting to capture the same magic as the first, Rocky II revisits a lot of similar plot points, such as Rocky trying to return to a normal life and furthering his relationship with his love, Adrian, the shy pet shop girl. The biggest difference between this and the first is the fight scene that closes out the movie. Practically doubling the length of the prior movie's fight scene, the Rocky II fight attempts to up the ante, the stakes, and the drama. But does it succeed, or does this movie get KO'd by us? Only way to find out is to step into the ring and see for yourself. Joining us for this episode is the writer and director of the indie drama Cicada Song, Michael Starr. Welcome to the further exploration of the Rocky franchise of films. This is the 1979 Sylvester Stallone boxing classic, Rocky II. This is a show about franchises. Underdog movie franchises. You're listening to License to Watch.
Why in the world was this movie made?
I feel like we're out of sync in real life.
The Zoom is throwing things off
a little bit,
so it's really off. But that was still lovely.
I legitimately thought Michael was about to go ba 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 Baran, and just try to like go over us completely.
Actually,
It's actually a
the last
medley.
one there, if you listen to the opening credits, which happens to be the absolute longest running ambulance ride in the history of movies to go ever.
Yeah.
There's that 70s disco drum.
Oh, it's
Yep.
so
Yep.
good.
Yeah, it is a long. It's like they knew they had like 8 minutes of credits, and they were like, well, maybe we should do some stuff over the credits, and they're just like, yeah. How about just an ambulance driving through the street? But it doesn't even, I mean, honestly, it's amazing how well this movie flows for a film that is almost 50 hours long. That like Adrian's in a coma for 2 days and it's all in real time. It's like we have like about 30 minutes of movie on either end, and then there's literally 48 hours of just pensive piano while Rocky moves back and forth between her bedside and the chapel.
Oh yeah.
So,
Not to mention that the first 20 minutes of this movie is the last 20 minutes of the first movie.
oh yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Harris was not able to get emotionally involved with the coma plotline.
Yeah, I had a little trouble. I mean, it really, I know it really, I'm exaggerating. I know it really is only like half of the movie, but it feels like much, much longer.
Well, yeah, that was they had to rewrite that for Talia. Does anybody know that?
No, what do you tell
So,
us?
So she was apparently doing extra projects at the time, and she couldn't actually do the Rocky movie. So
She fell into an actual coma.
Right? So they basically like wrote around her, and they were like, well, she can't be in the movie, so we'll put her in a coma for a while, and then like miraculously she'll come out of it. But she can't be at the fight because she's shooting another movie. So we'll shoot her like reaction scene like 7 months later.
Yeah, I know that was a big conversation about the fight, because they obviously the fight was. It's funny how much of this movie they wrote around. I guess they must have filmed the fight, the big finale fight, early, because they wrote so much of the plot of this movie around what they could or couldn't do in that fight. One was they couldn't get Talia Shire, so they had to explain why she wasn't there. But the other was that Sylvester Stallone tore his right pec working out to bulk up for this movie, and literally could not throw a punch with his right arm. So that's why they made him, turned him into a southpaw fighting right-handed, which makes no fucking sense at all. Like, it couldn't be a dumber idea. And yet they do this just so he doesn't have to throw that right-handed jab out there all the time during the fight.
It seems to me that a boxer might be someone who is easy to confuse. And so switching which hand is your dominant hand could confuse a boxer.
Yeah. It's not true, but
But when Burgess Meredith sells you something, you buy it.
You buy
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Especially when she's like, "Win, Rocky," and Burgess Meredith is like, "What are we waiting for?"
What are we waiting for?
So good.
She gave you the consent that you've been looking for this entire picture.
Yeah. Let's get to running and chasing that chickens.
And fucking bitches. Oh, scratch that last one.
That's just me.
The movie, of course, that we are talking about is the the fine American film written and directed by fine American writer, actor, director Sylvester Stallone, Rocky Dos, otherwise known as Rocky 2 in the States. This movie is basically the first movie, but with some slight differences.
It's the first movie, but he wins.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
I think I like this movie more than at least two of you. I think it's important that it's the one movie of the Rocky series where Adrian is a character, and Rocky's relationship with Adrian is the most important relationship in the movie. So those are strong points if you care about that.
For the record, Colin,
what?
I really dug this movie.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked it a lot. Yeah.
Listen, I came in with the impression that I wasn't supposed to like it, but I loved it.
I mean, I have my criticisms. Like there's
Just
things
for the
I
record,
find stupid.
it's the second. It can be the second worst Rocky movie and still kind of work. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Well, I really wanted to get into my fan theory of because the Rocky movies become more and more unrealistic, is this all just a coma dream that Adrian's having? Does the actual story of actual Rocky Balboa end when she goes into the coma? And does the story of Rocky Balboa that we see in the films begin after that?
All the way through Creed 3 is just Adrian's dying dream.
Yeah. I would love to see the beginning of Creed 4 is Talia Shire wakes up from the coma, and none of this has happened. Rocky is again a bum, and Apollo Creed is, I don't know.
She's very old, and she's been in a coma for decades.
Yeah.
None of this happened. Rocky moved on, remarried.
Well, here's my question. If Adrian's coma is permanent, does Rocky again become a bum? And is he more of a bum than he was at the beginning of Rocky 1?
He seemed pretty dedicated to being a bum even before she went into a coma.
Well, that's the full cycle, right? Isn't it called Rocky 5: Return to Bumsville?
Yeah. Rocky 5, bumming it up again.
Bumming it up.
Before we go any further, I should probably introduce our guest. Joining us for this episode is a friend of ours, another fellow USC grad. We've been really dipping into the USC well lately. A writer and director of the film Cicada Song. This is Michael Starr. Hey,
Greetings.
How's it going?
Glad to be here.
So, yeah, glad you could join us. This is our first Zoom episode because Omicron is ravaging the nation. First Zoom episode in a long time. So this is a treat for the listeners, I guess.
Yeah, because they care.
Right.
Will there be enough variants to get the Megatron variant? Is that even appropriate for me to say? Is that insensitive?
It is.
It's
but
insensitive to the
I'll
Greek
accept it.
alphabet, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. Apologies to anyone who's been victimized by any
Anybody
kind
who's
of
Greek.
virus.
Yeah.
Any Transformers.
Yeah.
Transformers
I have
who
a
are
couple-
easily triggered.
Yes.
I have a couple of asterisks to go over before we really jump into this. So number one, as you guys know, I'm eating dinner late, so I've got a lovely plate of Indian food in front of me. So if you guys hear some chewing, that's par for the course. Also, my daughter is still awake in the next room, so if you hear some mild child screaming, fear not, it is normal. It's just normal child screaming, not the not the odd child screaming. That's something else.
Not bad child screaming. If you hear bad child screaming, that's coming from Colin's apartment for some reason.
Yes, and I just moved into a new house this weekend, so if I sound really like reverberating or there's a lot of echo, is what I'm saying. It's because I'm in a basically empty room.
Right.
It
Your
sounds
house
like
is
you're
too
just
palatial. We get it.
It sounds like you're just bragging about your big house and your daughter and your Indian
Yeah.
food, Matt.
Yeah,
and you don't
exactly.
just shoehorn these stupid things in there because nobody's jealous of any of that shit.
I have a good life, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of having a good life, Michael has COVID, right?
Omicron version 3, version 2, I don't know, whatever. Just for the record, it lasted 2-3 days of mild head cold, no lung involvement. So luckily, I kind of scooted that one because vaccine and booster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good
that's
to hear
great.
that if there is good news about this Omicron thing and how contagious it is. It does seem to not be causing the lung problems that the other variants did. It's been mostly a head thing, which is the bright side, I guess.
It is completely a bright side. But I will say, it was a little, junky, basic junk. It's just junk.
Yeah.
It's like sinus infection, throat soreness, but didn't break 100 on my temperature. I actually gutted out my kitchen while I was in the throes of it because we needed to get rid of some stuff.
COVID
And
fever
then
dream
COVID
/
fever
home
dream.
remodeling. Yeah.
Yeah, kitchen remodeling, and then
It was also Adrian's fever dream.
yes, it was coincidental.
So, Michael, why don't you? We'll have a chance at the end where you can plug the movie and tell us about that. But maybe right now, if two things, if you could tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself and your background, and then also your personal background history with the Rocky series and this movie in particular. Had you seen it before? Is it a childhood favorite? Did you watch it with someone? Or we like the personal stories, and then we'll all go around and say our little bits too.
Well, I grew up on Long Island, probably not far from where Matt.
What?
Yep. Born and raised Italian American Jew, and pretty much just did the Long Island thing. No hopes, no dreams until you reach a certain age where all your friends are playing instruments, and you're like, "What instrument can I play?" And I took up the drums because I needed to play the biggest instrument because I'm the smallest guy. So I had those pipe dreams of being a rock star and playing Madison Square Garden, and one thing led to another, and I really did put an album together and played in a few bands, and did a funk band when I moved to LA called Cousin Junebug for a while. We did a lot of funky 60s funk, I guess you could say. I was
Were you a part of the Long Island punk rock scene at all?
not
Like
punk
the emo-
rock, metal.
Metal, okay.
My hair was super long. I had a mohawk that came down. I looked like Chris Cornell back in the day. I had the grunge goatee and the hair, and I was kind of. But I was a
Nice.
drummer, man. I was double kick, kind of that kind
Did you
of.
ever listen to? Were you into progressive rock at all,
yeah.
Dream Theater? Did you ever listen to
Actually,
Dream Theater?
funny you should say that because I recently did a video with Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater.
Nice.
So a band, some friends of mine used to be called Fuzz Bubble, back when they were on P. Diddy's label. renamed the band Cult Stars from Mars, and got Mike Portnoy to do like a couple of tracks. And the first video we did, it was like one of those home recorded videos, but we wanted to do like, if you can check it out, it's Cult Stars from Mars Dragonfly 2. And we did like a 70s cop theme opening sequence with the band, and Mike's playing drums, and the Cult Stars are kind of like, doing their cop things, jumping over bushes and cameras and stuff. But
for those who don't know, Mike Portnoy is like one of the greatest drummers of all time. Yeah.
So, but Mike Portnoy, Long Island drummer, guys from Long Island, Dream Theater's Long Island band with a Canadian singer.
I went to a drum clinic once with him at the Long Island Drum Center. Have you ever been there?
Which
Do you know
one?
that store? It was probably the one that you live at way out east, so it's the one closer to me. I think it's in
Medford.
Woodbury.
Oh, there was one in Medford for a while.
Nice.
Okay. You guys remember when I got really into prog rock and I accidentally got put on that flight to Czech Republic?
Is that the death metal flight?
To go see the famous rock of Prague.
The prog rock. Yeah,
That's where the pilgrims landed in the Czech Republic.
It was a lot of Czech geologists got really confused by what I was saying.
That's hilarious. But anyway, recorded an album, came out to L.A. to be a big time musician because everybody comes out here. It's like, hey, I made it to L.A. But ended up putting a band together, and the problem was a lot of flakes. I mean, you couldn't really do anything out here unless you do it on your own. So I wrote a children's book.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the backup plan for
Right,
most
that is
rock
the backup
musicians.
plan.
Yeah. Well, if I fall on my face doing the music thing, I can always just become a children's book author.
But
That's how Dr. Seuss got started.
Yeah,
that's true,
his
right?
metal band did not work out.
No, but Shel Silverstein's did.
Green Eggs and Hate. That was the name of his band.
Green Eggs and Hate. Indeed. But
Lorax.
Rocky for me was like, one of those movies where growing up, I didn't see it in the movie theater, but I saw Rocky 3 in the movie theater because, I was too into Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And Rocky 3, you see the end of Rocky 2, but you see them all before you see them in succession because you see the ending to the other one. It's like a spoiler.
I never got to see a Rocky movie in a theater until Rocky 6. I kind of wonder what the atmosphere was like, what the energy was like.
I stopped going after Rocky 4.
Yeah.
But
Probably a good move.
yeah, I mean, it started getting a little like weird. It was like that weird relationship that you have with that.
Well, yeah. Well, the Cold War was over at that point because, as we know, all right, spoilers alert. Sorry. Rocky Balboa ended the Cold War. I don't know why, any political leaders or groups of people get any credit besides him. That doesn't really make sense because what we've seen in Rocky 4, but we'll discuss that at a later time, obviously.
yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump became president and arguably created the disaster that we're in. So is it that unbelievable to think that Rocky Balboa solved ended the Cold War? It's kind of on the same level of believability.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that we couldn't get a movie where Rocky is able to have a boxing match with a virus in some way. It's just we're not there yet as a movie making industry. And
I'm holding out hope.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have a movie coming out where he fights an alien?
I don't know.
There's something like that.
Yeah.
There's something
Is it
like that.
called
I swear to
Predator?
God. No, that's how the movie Predator came to be.
called
They
Space
wanted
Rocky.
Rocky to fight an alien.
Right.
And they were like, that's crazy, but let's do something like that.
Right.
That's crazy, but I love it.
Yeah. Silly. Call Schwarzenegger. So long story short, too late. I was a nurse for many, 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 many years and kind of got a little tired of that because I wanted to be more in the entertainment world and wrote some scripts, did quarterfinalist in the Nickel Fellowship and got some good accolades from some other scripts, and decided that was kind of like my calling. So I went to film school, and here we are.
In debt.
The rest is history.
Yes,
Yep.
The rest is history. But I will say, the first time I saw Rocky 1, I was probably 10, and
Okay.
it was so unoffensively amazing that I did not want to take up boxing in any way, but it made me want to, made me proud to be an Italian.
It made you want
I-
to work for the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder if it makes horses proud as well.
It's like the two demographics that Rocky really appeals to: Italians and stallions.
Yep.
it's perfect.
I don't remember.
Harris, what's your history? Yeah.
I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I feel like I don't know if I've ever seen a Rocky. I saw the Creed movies in theaters. I don't know if I ever saw any of the Rocky movies in theaters, because I know the first one I remember watching, it might not be the first one I watched, but the first one I remember watching is Rocky 4. And because that was on TV all the time. And
I haven't
certainly
really.
the one
Yeah. Oh, my bad.
it's the one I've seen the most. And they used to do like the marathons on TV and stuff, and I know I've watched the second one. But I feel like this is probably the one that I've seen the second least. And I think that makes sense. If you were like ranking them in order of how many times should you watch these movies, this one is a little higher than Rocky 5 and below everything else. So this is kind of a revelation to like, I saw familiar scenes and I know I've seen it before, but it's been a long, long time.
Well, no. How can you forget a satin jacket with a embroidered tiger on the back?
That was one of my only memories from this. That I was like, oh yeah, there's that jacket. There's that fucking jacket again.
Oh yeah,
great.
not to mention, they used to sell those at every flea market in the 70s and late 70s, early 80s.
I want one.
Tight ass jeans, fingerless gloves.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like the first time you see him when he decides that he's gonna go back and start fighting again. He goes and punches the bag in his basement, but he's still wearing like his 70s shoes that have like 2.5 inches or 3 inches of platform on the heel, and he's just like punching the bag in like a shirt.
He went to
tank
work at
top,
the meat
white
factory
beater.
in
Yeah.
that outfit
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
You
he
know,
did.
like-
Yeah, he was wearing the satin jacket under the meat factory.
Yeah. You know that all
Wow.
smelled like meat.
Yeah.
I just love it. He's punching the bag, and Adrian comes down. She's like, Rocky, what are you doing? He's like, go make me a sandwich.
Oh yeah. And the best is that he's like, okay, I need to finish working out, and she goes upstairs. He punches it 2 more times and is clearly done. No,
Leave me alone.
Yeah, go
I
make
have-
me a turkey pot pie.
I have a very specific memory of the first time that I saw Rocky 2, and I'm pretty sure Rocky 2 actually, because of this, is the first Rocky movie I ever saw. But I didn't see the whole thing. I used to, because both my parents worked when I was in elementary school. I used to go stay at this woman's house who did like a sort of a daycare of me and another kid after school childcare, out of her house, right? And she had a daughter, and I don't remember a lot of stuff about the daughter. I do remember that she at one time had aspirations to go to like clown college, actually, which is a fascinating like little detail that I remembered.
You guys have held me back for long enough. I'm going to clown college.
Right. But she was older, like late teens, so she wasn't there all the time. But one day she was there, and she got to watch the TV when we were supposed to do whatever. We didn't get to pick the TV time or whatever because we always watched Batman, and before that Barney and whatever. So yeah, she got to pick the TV time, and she picked Rocky 2, and she was like very adamant about how Rocky 2 was the best one, and I was just really confused about I had never experienced anyone female talking about the Rocky movies up to that point, which was really interesting to me. And so I got this perspective that Rocky 2 was the one that girls would like the most, which I think kind of holds up. I guess.
Oh, I disagree. I mean, I don't know, but this is where you really get the. This is the movie where you really develop the Adrian as a fucking wet blanket sports movie wife character. Where like in the first one she's super supportive, and in this one it's like setting the groundwork for the famous like you can't beat him, you'll never win moment in Rocky 4. It's like
you're never gonna make it.
Yeah, you can't do it. You suck. You know, and that's sort of it's become a trope of the sports movie wife that doesn't believe in her husband. But I think it all starts with Adrian being like, you know, out of concern for his eyesight. No, you should just be homeless. Like,
okay, well,
I'll work at a pet shop, and you can be a thumb breaker.
First of all, he should be dead, though. Like, for real, like, if you witnessed that, if you were, like, in that hospital scene, he looks disgusting in the hospital scene. We all just saw it. I mean, he looks disgusting. And, like, he should be dead. He's obviously got something wrong. Like, you know.
Yet, as he points
his
out...
His nose looks great in this, though.
Yeah, as he points out, he always kind of had something wrong with his brain. He's like... I love the commercial scene where he's like, oh, you know, I'm not punchy, I just gotta... I can't even remember what he says, like a slow brain or something like that.
I'm not illiterate from brain damage. I just never tried to learn to read. Great, okay. But whatever. That's like literally what he says. Like, not verbatim, but like that's literally what the movie is.
I'm not illiterate. I just don't read so good.
Yeah, he gets better though because he cares about Adrian, and that's moving.
And he loves Louis L'Amour.
So wait, I think we had mentioned in the first episode something about he does get a nose job at some point, but like his nose looks very different in this one. Am I the only one noticing that, or
like
am I
crooked?
wrong? No, it looks like in the first movie he had a little more of like a turned up like.
Yeah, he has like a pointy nose in the first one.
Yeah, and that's gone. It's not
definitely
like super
bigger.
Pointy. Yeah, I don't know if that's from boxing. I doubt it.
Maybe
I'm
maybe
sure
he broke it. So he made what, 2 movies between this and Rocky 1. He made a movie called Fist and Paradise Alley, which was a Prohibition era wrestling picture. Which they were afraid to let him direct this one because Paradise Alley, it was so poorly received. And all I can say is interesting choice of, you know, a subject like, you know, Prohibition era wrestling picture is his directorial debut and follow-up. And there are so many reasons that might have not succeeded that have nothing to do with his directing.
Hey, it's like Rocky for poor people.
Not only that, I mean,
100 years ago.
That's where the idea for Over the Top came, right?
Hey, it's like Rocky for idiots. I don't know what that
for arm wrestling truck drivers.
Yeah.
It's that demographic. We will nail the arm wrestling truck driver demographic. 100% saturation in that market.
The idea for Over the Top has to come from some kind of like semi-truck fetish kind of thing. I don't know.
I feel like the idea for Over the Top comes from like a very sad real life custody battle that he was like, oh man, I wish you'd just arm wrestle this bitch. It's just a fantasy of it's just a male divorce fantasy. What if all custody battles were settled through arm wrestling?
Right. I get it. And then like the wife was probably like not that great of a driver, and so there's that like, oh well, like I'm such a good driver, I could probably drive those big rigs. I see where you're going with this.
Hey, I got your prenup right here.
Yeah.
I could beat him.
All right, let's talk about the main thing here, the elephant in the room, the fight scene in this movie. How does it stand up to the first movie? Let's just get right to it because I don't want to wait till the end for that. I personally thought that the fight in this was great, and like a lot of it's first of all, it's better than the fight in the first movie. However, like we discussed that, you know, the first movie isn't really so much about the fight. It's sort of about everything that leads up to that, and it's very short. It's like 3 minutes long or something like that.
It's 9 minutes. They give you their money's worth when they finally get there, but
I guess. But this movie, it was like felt so much longer. And it was so much more about the ups and downs of it. Like, okay, who's winning, who's losing. He, like, the build of this movie, like, makes it so that you want him to win. He needs to win. Basically, his life is over. His life is over if he loses. That's kind of how they paint it.
Apollo is a better fighter, though. Was anyone else saying like Apollo should win? He's a better athlete. He's a better fighter. He's stronger. He's bigger.
He
Apollo
won. He
should
won
win.
like 13 of the 15 rounds, and all he had to
deserved
do.
it.
All he had to do was avoid Rocky for one more round, and he refused to do it because he wanted to knock him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, his cockiness got the better of him.
Yeah.
It's kind of charity at that point to get close enough to let Rocky maybe have a shot at punching your lights out.
He didn't have to. He literally didn't have to do anything at all at that point because he'd beaten the man to. He should be dead again. Like I know. I really harp on this point, but like Rocky should have died like a long time ago.
Well, I don't think you can interject realism into a movie where like. So I agree with Matt 100%. I thought the fight was great. I loved there was some point of view shots where Rocky is like, getting knocked dumb and like looks out into the crowd, and I just thought there was some really inventive camera work, and I just thought it looked great. It was a definite improvement. The one thing that wasn't an improvement, and why I don't think you can inject realism into this franchise at all, is there has never been a professional fighter at any level at any point in history that fought like Rocky with his hands out here, not even trying to cover his face and not even trying to avoid taking every punch directly in the face. Like he literally, like they're talking all the time about how he can't get hit in his left eye because his left eye is super vulnerable. And he goes out there and makes absolutely no effort to protect his left eye. He just gets punched directly in the face. Every time. Apollo lands 95% of his punches directly in Rocky's face. Like, there's never been a fighter that... Like, Mick makes the joke that Southpaws lead with their face. Yeah. But it's, like, not a joke in this movie because Rocky's literal... he literally just goes face first into fists for the entire, 15 rounds.
Well, that's his MO.
Yeah, it's just not a fighting technique that has ever existed in the real world because it wouldn't last 2 rounds.
Right, but that's what happens when you have an actor choreographing a fight scene.
It's so true. I find myself when I'm watching the Rocky fights just like begging, asking, pleading with him to just block one time.
Just
like
get his gloves up just a little bit. They're so close. They're like here. They just need to be in front of his face.
Just do blocking. It's like a thing. Everyone knows what it is. Just do it. Like, just block a punch. And
or move his head. A big part of fighting is just keeping your head moving. And he really, literally just like...
he moves it forward, like, into the man's fist.
Yeah. He's like, maybe if I I could break his hand on my skull if I just sort of lean into these a little more.
There's what was it? There was an Ali fight, and I can't remember. It was the Bleeder. That fought Ali.
The Bayonne Bleeder. Chuck
Wepner.
Yeah.
And Stallone was saying that's where he got his inspiration, for that from that fight. But honestly, I think he's more Jake LaMotta than anybody else. Has anybody here seen Raging Bull?
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't, you must.
one of the many movies that I think sort of rode the coattails of Rocky's success.
Yeah, well, what's really interesting is when you look at some of the fight scenes in Raging Bull, Rocky 2 was doing slow-mo punches before Marty did it. I call him Marty, like we're on first name basis, me and Marty,
But there was a glut of boxing movies that came out in the late 70s and early 80s that have to be directly tied to this, to the success of this franchise. And very few of them are memorable at all other than the Rocky movies and Raging Bull. Raging Bull was one of the few that worked. But yeah, definitely. I think Stallone figured out a lot of things about how to make the ring stuff better in this. And John Avildsen, who had done the first one, was really not he was more of a dramatic director, and he wasn't necessarily going to do a lot of action stuff. That wasn't what interested him as much. He declined doing this movie so he could work on Saturday Night Fever, which I think he eventually also left. But that's the kind of thing he wanted to do, more working class Joe trying to survive.
And John Badham did Saturday Night Fever, who's one of my favorites. I mean, the dude, come on, Blue Thunder, seriously, like who doesn't like that movie? But
he did Exorcist 2, I think,
yes,
right?
He did.
Yes.
Which we've covered on this show.
and War Games.
And found delightful.
Oh, no. I met him at USC. He's great. He's so good.
Is he Deliverance, too? Is that him?
No.
That's Borman.
Oh, Borman. Oh, Borman is who did Exorcist 2, right?
Yeah, that's
John
right.
Borman? Yeah.
Who did Exorcist 3?
Oh, the writer, the author of the book.
Oh, Blatty, yeah.
Blatty.
Speaking of directors, the commercial director in the scenes in Rocky 2, like,
Not
like
great.
he is an
Not great at his job.
He is an asshole, but Rocky is not easy to work with. I mean,
No.
But I mean, you know that you're like, he's like, this isn't a professional. I can't work with anybody who's not a professional. You're directing a fucking TV commercial with a celebrity. Did you expect him to be a professional actor? Also, it's like you got to coach this guy up a little bit. Make an effort, dude.
Yeah, be nice to him. You know, he's Rocky Balboa, for crying out loud. Plus, they asked him to do it.
Just give him minimal dialogue. Come on.
Yeah.
Know your people.
But can we talk about the outfit he's wearing? So it's like
It's nice, right?
It's denim, but it's not jeans, and it's a vest and jeans. It's kind of a suit, I guess, but it is denim. But
It's a look. It's a look.
Yeah.
Specific. He's got like a sort of a Bay City roller vibe going on there. It's definitely a late 70s.
SATURDAY.
Yep.
This movie like just feels so late 70s, like at times. It's just
I like the fake busted face that they put on him when they put the boxing ring part of that.
He looks so dumb.
Yeah.
But it looks like they just didn't finish the makeup after the fight scene in the real movie.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's one thing that
prosthetic.
I did notice with these, the video quality here is very good, and you can kind of see all the glue they paste around his wounds at various times, and especially like Mickey's busted nose and cauliflower ears are so shiny that you can like see how they've been like shellacked onto his face and ears.
Yeah, and like also Mickey's face is like a lot of different colors because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think his face is a lot of different colors, anyways. This is very much Burgess Meredith, getting that Oscar nomination and being like, "Oh, they liked it. I'm gonna go twice as big in this one."
Yeah,
the scene in the chapel is very moving to me. I think he really did nail it in the scene in the chapel.
I think he's one of the best characters in the Rocky franchise. Plus, he's Burgess Meredith, man. I mean, honestly, he's laughing through half of his dialogue in this movie. I don't know if you picked it up, but he's like, "You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder."
Yes,
it's like they're laughing. Great, but I think it's a very there's some tears coming in here and there. It's emotional.
The Adrian Coma thing gets me. I tear up. I just think it's like, I don't know why. I'm just a sucker, I guess.
I usually come back from whatever I went to do when she fell into the coma, and I cry because I'm like, it's still the coma.
I think for me, I think I agree with Harris in some way. Like for me, the weakest part of this movie is that it kind of drags somewhere in the middle there. It's good in the beginning, getting us back into the characters, and of course the first 20 minutes of it are the last 20 minutes of the first movie, which I've said already. So it kind of gets you right in, and then there's like it just like doesn't have the same quality as the second act of the first movie. I don't know exactly what it is that's missing, but it just drags a little.
I think I can speak to that. I think that all of her scenes were rewritten after the idea that was done. It's like she couldn't do the movie, so they were like, "Oh, what are we gonna do here? Well, put her in a coma. That's easy. She doesn't have to be like here for more than a day." And literally, I mean, I think she was actually making 2 movies while that movie was shooting. Like she was working. She was doing Godfather Part 2 at that point. Also, I think when did that one come out?
That was before.
I think
that was like
before.
1973 or 4.
Yeah.
Well, the Part 2 was when? 76?
No, Part 2 was 73, 74.
Okay.
The first one was 72, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, pardon me, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know.
But I mean, she was working. She's in other stuff too. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
But
I don't know what she was filming at the same time.
But I think it was more about the fact that she wasn't available to do the parts that were written for her. So they were like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" So it happens, right? It's like we got to rewrite it. We're in the middle of production, and what are we gonna do? She can't make it. We can't write her out, so we'll write something simple, and it just doesn't work. Or maybe it does work.
I think it works because I think it fits in with the plot we have about how Rocky is unqualified for any job because his education is 9th grade and he's previously worked for the mafia.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
it fits in. Like he can't do anything. Like he isn't a professional anything.
Well, I
except
think
boxer.
that part actually comes across pretty well, but that's less the middle section that I think me and Matt think drags. That's more the beginning, which I think is really good because you see
But that's
Rocky,
what makes the coma matter.
like the
you know?
transition of Rocky living the high life off this near win, and he marries his girl, and he's got more money than he's ever had in his life. And he's like, it's so obvious how badly he is with it. He's just spending it on stupid shit. And like, just the whole look of, the satin tiger jacket as opposed to what he was wearing in the first movie. And he buys a dog bracelet for his wrist. And it's just like all the stuff that you're just like, oh God, Rocky, those jeans are so tight. What are you doing? And, but it's like clear that he's like lost his way. And it almost immediately he is humbled, like almost immediately he's got to take a job in the meatpacking plant, sweep up spit at the gym, and like do all this shit that it's like they lay him low. But then the problem is they have this section of like he's got every reason to fight again, and I think the Adrian subplot is throwing an artificial obstacle in the way of him fighting, because otherwise it would just be like, okay, we've got we're 40 minutes into this movie and Apollo wants to fight and Rocky wants to fight and there's nothing stopping them. So what's it going to be? A 30-minute training montage? No, we got to have something preventing this from happening. And it's Adrian.
I think Harris. I mean, this is the way I kind of see it. Is like thematically, this is the through line of this movie is frustrating as a viewer because like you're watching a Rocky movie. You want to see him fight. You want to see the rematch. Like we're all excited for that. And it just takes so long to get to that because this whole movie he's waiting for her to give him the approval to do this. So like it's frustrating as an audience member because you're like, just come on already. Like we know she's going to give him approval at some point. Just like go for it. Whereas
the movie isn't going to end with him staying retired. We know the fight's going to happen.
Right.
So let's just get to it.
Right. So just get to it. Whereas like the through line in the first movie is like he's trying to win her love. He's trying to get her to love him back. And that is like, via the fight or like getting to that point. And then it's not even about the fight. Win or lose, like he's won her heart kind of thing. Yeah. So that's why the through line of the first movie kind of works a little better and it's a little more relatable because everyone wants someone to love them, like that's kind of a thing we can all relate to. Whereas in the second movie, it's like, all right.
But you do have that frustration of this guy who's only qualified to do one thing and people are telling him he can't do it. And I think that's pretty good. It's just they couldn't figure out a way to make it work for the whole movie unless without making Adrian sort of the bad guy of the second act.
I will say this.
I think that supports the point that like the coma thing works really well in the story. It's not
because we all hate her and want her to fall into a coma, but I mean that's not I think how they use it.
I will say if you take the coma out of the movie, it's still the same thing. If she was not in the coma, if you cut 10 minutes out of that movie, it's still Rocky 2.
And it's nice. It's a tight 95 minutes too. I would like it better.
And the through line works better.
Yeah. However, though, after saying what we're all saying, like when she wakes up out of that coma and she looks at him and says, "You got to win," like
that's the best.
Oh yeah,
it's the great moment. Listen, yeah, you're like, yes,
goosebumps.
This is the weirdest thing about this movie is that it's so poorly done in so many real dramatic ways, and yet it kind of still lands. Like those moments still work in spite of themselves, like in spite of the all the failings that got us there. When she says "win," I'm like, "Fuck yeah, this is what we wanted."
Yeah, and Burgess Meredith sells it.
Yeah, totally. And then the fight redeems any like bad qualities of this movie. Like the fight is so good. In fact, that like there were so many parts of the fight when they both hit each other at the same time and like collapse at the same time. Like those in my head were memories of the first fight. Like I thought that happened in the first Rocky movie, but it doesn't. It's all from this. My history with this movie is that I haven't seen it probably since I was 10 or 11 years old or something, and I think I only saw it maybe one time or like caught it on TV or something. This is the one, I think Harris and I align. This is the one that I've seen the second least, like, because I've never seen Rocky 5. And then this one, I always went to 1, 3, and 4. Those are my Rockies as a kid.
Yeah.
And this one's like too similar to the first movie. I think as a kid, I would have been like, okay, I get it. He wins in this one, you know?
Yeah, but it's a continuation of the first movie. You know, if this was a Kenneth Branagh interpretation, there would be an intermission, you know, between the two movies, one long movie. And essentially it does kind of work where it picks up where it leaves off. And yeah, okay, it's like, you know, let's blow up the Death Star in the first movie and then blow it up again in the third movie. You know, it's the same idea. It's like we could have had a trilogy or we could have had one movie, but we made a trilogy out of it. You know, to me, it's like, it's a good, you know, life. I don't know how to explain this. It's a good slice of life of a guy trying to like make his way. And then in the end, he actually gets what he's been fighting for. But then you get into like Rocky 3, which I actually like a lot. You know, I think that to me, I mean, Clubber Lang is seriously one of the best, especially when he's like hitting on Adrian.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, mama."
If you didn't feel that way, I would legitimately pity you. I would pity you as if you were some sort of fool.
Yeah, you have my greatest sympathy, you poor simpleton. I'm watching him work out in his basement, and you're right, Colin. The heels on his shoes are so big. They're like 4.5 inch, like monster.
Like in 2022, that is extremely noticeable. I realized that like 70s audiences were like, "This looks normal," but like it looks like he's on fucking stilts now.
Yeah, in 2022,
like
we would just assume that this was like he was like that. His whole outfit was just some part of some like sort of queer-friendly cultural thing that he's doing with like. But yeah, men can wear platform shoes and like it's like a Harry Styles thing.
Yeah,
Rocky's wearing a dress and platform heels. He's like, I'm still just as much of a man.
Yep. One thing I thought was interesting was like I really enjoy that this movie is built around a rematch, but I don't know if I completely buy Apollo Creed's like motivation for wanting a rematch. You know, it's like,
what about when he's reading the hate mail to his wife, and the wife is like, "Can you stop?" And he's like, "I can't. I'm gonna throw these hate mail all over the house."
I love Apollo in this movie because it's like him
He's
being
so
like,
good.
like intentionally leaning into like the heel turn thing. Like he knows he's not an asshole. He's not a bad guy. We know that he's not a bad guy, and yet he knows that like he's the champ, and the only way to prove to everyone that he's the champ is he's gonna have to be the bad guy. Yeah, but I do kind of get like the idea that this sort of rewrites what the first movie was. Because a big part of what the first movie was this guy who has zero chance of winning actually comes this close to winning. And that even coming close to winning was enough of a victory. He didn't need to become the world champion. He needed to just show that he could hang with legit dudes. And that was a victory. And then this movie goes, yeah, but what if instead of being a guy who worked really hard and got lucky that his opponent underestimated him and that their styles didn't match up or whatever, what if he actually is one of the greatest fighters in the world? You know, like it's like, you know, what if he is one of the greatest boxers and he just didn't realize it till he was 30 something years old? It's absurd and it doesn't make any sense, and it totally rewrites what the first movie, what was great about the lessons that we learned in the first movie. But it also establishes what the Rocky franchise would go on to be. But, you know, this is the problem with
it's definitely Adrian's coma dream. Like,
that's
the transition point.
This definitely supports that argument big time. But the Apollo Creed thing, from his perspective, Apollo Creed still thinks it's the first Rocky movie that's grounded in reality. He's like, yeah, this guy got lucky. I didn't take him seriously. Now I'm going to come out and kick his ass like I know I can because I'm a much better fighter. I've never been defeated by anyone, and I'm not going to get defeated by a fucking club fighter who's in his 30s, you know? And then he gets out there and somehow he loses. You know, it's like completely improbable. Like in his mind, his motivation for taking the fight was that he thought there was a 0% chance that it was going to go as poorly as the first one did because he was going to take it more seriously. And as it turns out, Rocky has become the greatest fighter in the world in the meantime. So
this is why I came away from this movie like I did from rewatching Rocky 1, like thinking to myself that Carl Weathers just does not get enough credit for what he did with this character in these movies, and like his performance and just like how frustrated he is, but how he still like is definitely like, oh, I'm gonna keep beating the shit out of this guy for like all night if I have to. I'm really frustrated by it. I'm not enjoying it anymore, but I am gonna do this, you know, like, yeah. And he's just wearing that on his face. He's like, I'm gonna bury you. I'm like, I don't need to like it, but I'm better than you, and I have to do it.
Exactly. It's nothing personal, but I've got something that I have to do for me.
Yeah, it is personal
not
to
smile.
me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, apparently, Muhammad Ali felt very, he felt very good about Carl Weathers' interpretation of himself.
Yeah.
I would too. It's a really good performance. Also, I would say that so in the first movie, Rocky has a little, he's got a little heft to him. He's supposed to be kind of an over the hill guy, who, was carrying a little extra weight. In this movie, he gets a lot more cut. Carl Weathers is fucking jacked. Like, his arms are enormous. I mean, he famously was already in great shape, bulked up dude, but I think he got extra jacked for this movie. I couldn't believe when they're showing his workout scenes and stuff. I'm like, dude, this guy is huge. His arms are
whole movie.
Yeah. When they're in the ring together, I'm just like, oh my God, he's so much bigger.
The whole movie, I'm just saying, Apollo should win. He's gonna win. He should win. He's better. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's better. He's gonna win. He should win.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of it's funny, and I mean he does. He really beats him for 12 or 13 out of 15 rounds, and just gets his face in the way of a couple of important punches.
I was trying to say before that famously Carl Weathers does not smile once in this entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's got the scowl on.
And
good scowl too.
The guy who plays his trainer is also a great fixture in the world
Duke.
of Rocky. Duke.
I love that moment where he's getting the advice from everybody about who he should fight next, and he's honestly,
it's all wrong for you, baby.
Do you think I can beat? Do you think I could beat him? Do you think I won? And they're all kind of quiet. And I love that moment when Duke comes up and just goes, "He's all wrong for us, baby." It's he cares. He's like, "Listen, it isn't that I think he's better than you. It's that why should we risk this with this guy who just has for every reason in the world is a bad match,
Yeah. Well, why don't you pick someone that falls down when you hit them?
Well, I think also in the beginning of the film, when they're, in the hospital and Rocky's knocking on Apollo's door, he's like, hey, did you give me everything? And Apollo's like, yeah, man. It's that's it. He gave him everything.
Yeah.
Because it's you don't even see his face. You just hear it in his voice. And that's good voice acting, people.
I like that scene a lot because, I mean, I was thinking, what would the movie be without that scene? He would always be wondering. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, I don't know. I guess it could work the other way. Or if he denied, he could be like, get the fuck out of my room, man, or whatever, not give him a straight answer. And then, he wants the rematch because he does want to give it his all or whatever. And then he still...
Yeah. We're not supposed to dislike Apollo, which I think is that scene actually leads us to... Because, Apollo, in the ring, they say there's not going to be a rematch. But as soon as they get to the hospital, Apollo's acting like he's going to get out of his wheelchair and fight him right there. Even though he clearly isn't, because it's all the show. And that one scene in the hospital, what it gives us is Apollo's doing a lot of this stuff for show because he feels like he has to. Right. For his reputation, but that scene in the hospital is just two guys, late at night, nobody else around, and he can be honest.
Yeah, just a couple of dudes having a couple of beers, whatever. But I think what's really hilarious is Rocky ends up walking into the hospital, and Apollo's being wheeled in by a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Colin.
No, Mike. I just really wanted to. You said you used to work as a nurse. Did you work in a hospital? And how much would this be one of the worst days of your life if this was the night you worked at a hospital?
Well, I worked in the intensive care for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. like
I've seen some shit, man.
yeah, but like 50 reporters and 2 guys who like beat the shit out of each other and like
I've never dealt with the aftermath of a boxing match.
yeah.
I've dealt with people getting their hands blown off from shotguns.
Whoa.
I've dealt with premature births that killed moms. I've seen some horrific stuff. Absolutely
Damn.
stuff that would give you nightmares. But to be honest with you, a spectacle like that, yeah,
Because they wouldn't allow that anymore. Like
Nah.
that also gives it a really 70s feel. Because like, you know,
Yeah.
you just like you'd have hospital security like get the fuck out. Who are all these people? You know, like
Yeah, well, that was. I mean, I'm trying to think. I think it was one of the Ali Frazier matches. One of those 3 fights where they both ended up in the same hospital after the fact. And I think they were in pretty bad shape. But much like Apollo Creed, Ali was like still trying to talk to the press, still trying to like get it out there. Like, oh no, I'm fine. This is nothing. Even though like I think he was the one who was actually closer to death, and was like playing it off like it was no big deal.
Yeah, but that's what's so beautiful and beautifully written about that moment. It's one of the only real moments that they have together in the whole movie. It's like literally 10 seconds of screen time, and it's like the most honest thing that Apollo has said in the whole movie.
Yep.
I forget which one of my favorite lines Rocky says is like he's pretty mad.
Their press conference is hilarious where like Apollo's like talking all this shit and Rocky's like oh I'm gonna buy like a Kermit the Frog or
I just love that the news guy, the press is like, hey, is there anything derogatory you want to say about Apollo? And he's like, oh, he's great.
He's the best.
That's great.
It's like, how derogatory could you be?
That is, I guess, as derogatory as Rocky is capable of being.
Yeah.
I also love the scene where he's working in the gym, and I kind of felt like that would be like the more accurate spiritual sequel to the first one. Is Rocky finds a life of just like training young fighters at the gym. And it's like I kind of the most unbelievable part of that is all these other guys in the gym shitting on him. Like this would be for all these other like fucking nobody club fighters in the gym. This guy would be their fucking hero. He went toe to toe with an undefeated champion of the world and almost beat him. And now he's in the gym with them. That would be like, I don't know. I just feel like if he was cleaning up their spit buckets, I feel like they would be like still giving him a lot of respect,
That's why they choose like one specific guy who is like that character.
Yeah.
And he has his little cronies. He's like the bully of that gym. And like he's trying to use bullying to make himself feel better or whatever. If it had been all of them, that would have been way worse.
Still
that
a
would have
little
been exactly
bit unbelievable though that so many of them were willing to like sort of laugh about how Rocky's fallen on hard times, especially because like they've never even had the success that he's had. So it's like they're still in the hard times that he's fallen on, and they're making fun of him for actually doing better and now being back at their level.
I buy it though, because it's almost like they're giving him shit because he's letting them down. He was sort of like supposed to be representing them by fighting this guy, and now he's like turning his back on the fight, and they're kind of like, fuck you.
And Apollo's talking about him in the media too. Like Apollo's like openly saying like he's a chicken, he won't fight me. He's like too scared, he's hiding, all that.
And
shit.
there was actually a little bit of that in Frazier's career too, where he felt like he was another Philly guy who was very popular in his hometown, but felt like he wasn't as popular when like people still would cheer for Ali, and he'd be like, I don't, I'm better, I'm doing well, and he couldn't get the fan base. That
just to be clear, you are talking about Joe Frazier and not Frazier from.
No, I was talking about Frazier Crane. Yeah, yeah.
Niles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Daphne was the best boxer of that.
I mean, that's only because we never saw Maris fight on screen, but she was actually very dangerous.
Maris.
She had a really a strong left hook.
She ate lightning and crap thunder.
We get another cameo. We had Joe Frazier at the big fight in the last one. We get another cameo from one of the greatest boxers ever. Roberto Duran is actually his sparring partner in the ring.
Right.
Randomly, just really tiny scene, but it was to get him used to somebody who was really much faster. And honestly, he probably avoided more punches against Roberto Duran than he did against Apollo Creed, who once again landed like 95% of his punches directly in his face.
And
I would have liked to have.
Sorry, Colin, go ahead.
I would have liked to have seen Moss of that. That's all I was gonna say.
There was a whole thing about Stallone saying, "Oh, I think I can go a few rounds with this guy," and he's like, as soon as he started really punching, he's like, "Forget it, I'm an actor."
Yeah. Oh, I just remembered. I'm an actor.
Yeah. He's like, you remember quickly that you're an actor and not a, a boxer.
Speaking of
There
cameos,
was another familiar face.
I was just gonna say another one of my favorite cameos of this movie was one Frank Stallone gets a much bigger
Yes.
singing part.
Yeah.
And lines, right?
Yeah,
like
lines,
actual
yeah.
lines. That was great. But I was gonna say, actually, in his at his job at the meat, what do you call it?
Yeah, Frank
Meat-
McRae.
Meat packing plant.
Is it Frank?
Meat
Frank
packing
McRae?
plant. That's it. Yeah, that guy who's like the screaming boss in like every '80s cop movie.
Oh yeah,
The last action hero sergeant guy.
Yeah.
He's
and
great.
I feel like isn't he in? Was he
48
in?
Hours?
Was he the fry cook in the one with the little alien robots that fly around? The batteries not included. I feel like he was in
I
that
think
with
you might
Jessica
be right.
Tandy.
Wow.
I'm too lazy to look it up right now, but
But you're
Yeah,
not
I'm
too
sorry.
lazy to remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry none of the other three of us had that at the forefront of their minds.
Get out my face, you crazy robots!
I think the trash can singing scene supports my Adrian Coma dream argument because she's like, "Who are these people? Are they real? Do they really just stand out
before
there
she
and
went
sing?"
into a coma.
I know, but like it's she's not sure what
You're saying that contributed to her coma. Like maybe she caught something for Frank Stallone. Like maybe she caught that rhythm, that fever for some doo-wop.
I think she said it on the show, but Colleen really hated that part of the first movie when he walks past like the singing people on the corner. She's like, I don't buy this. I don't like. Is this a thing that really existed? And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, see, questioning the reality of that, and then you go into a coma, and then like you question all reality.
Yeah, but he carries her
after
all the
that.
way home from the church too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel like the traditional all the Catholicism stuff is laid on a little bit thick in this movie. When he goes to the priest's house for the blessing before the match,
He's
like,
late
okay.
already, and he decides to
I'm
stop
like,
off and
okay.
yell up at the priest's window. Yeah, I want to live in a world, though, where you can just light a fire in a trash can, and everyone's got a bottle of cheap wine, and you just make up some doo-wop. Like I think that's a fun idea.
Can we bring that back?
Like, can we start that? Can we start our own doo-wop group that's just like the only requirements are cheap wine and lit trash can fire?
Yeah, you can live in a world like that, and you won't even need a house.
You know what? I mean, that kind of sums up 2020.
Yeah.
Maybe. I feel like there's also a doo-wop group singing over a burning trash can in New Jack City. I'm just sort of having a random memory. I don't quote me on that. I haven't seen New Jack City in a couple of years, but I'm pretty sure that there is a doo-wop group that may or may not be Boyz II Men or some other similar band of that era that's just doo-wopping over a burning trash can.
Do you feel that cinema today is irresponsible because of its lack of people standing around a trash can?
It's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Songs? Yeah, okay.
I mean,
I
the last
understand.
one in the modern times that I could think of is like the homeless guy who Batman throws his jacket to in Batman Begins.
Not even singing.
Yeah, not
He's
doing enough singing. Yeah.
Well, not in that scene. Maybe
yeah.
he was singing after Batman left.
Wasn't that guy
he
like
was
a
taking, he was
Mission
taking
Impossible
5,
villain
as
or
they
something?
say. He was taking 5,
Yeah.
as
right.
they say in the business.
Yeah, in the business.
I'm not going to tell you guys.
The trash can
We got a couple
hobo
of
business.
musicians here. You guys know.
Yeah. Isn't the guy you're talking about? Wasn't he like the guy who invented the Bellerophon in Mission Impossible 2 or something?
Or the guy who...
that guy,
Or the
yeah,
bad guy
yeah.
from The Saint, maybe. I can't remember. Or both.
Oh right, yeah, he's both.
I think he is both. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the screaming sergeant guy for a second there.
Oh no,
Like he created Bellerophon.
Bellerophon.
Is anybody at the scene where Mickey comes into the house? He's like, we need to knock his block off.
Yeah.
Everything Mickey says is gold.
My favorite Mickey scene in this entire thing is the one just before that, where he's watching the TV in his apartment, which I assume is at the gym, which it looks like a one-room broom closet, and he's like shoeless in long underwear, and he's like kicking at his tiny 8-inch TV screen. It's very good. I'm just like, what is this guy's life?
I like it when they're watching the film and he decides to step in front of the projector while it's still running, and it's like it's an interesting choice.
What if instead of Creed as a spin-off of this, they made something called Mick, and it's just like all about Mickey's life?
Mickey's
That's
origin
not a bad
story.
idea.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do it.
Dude.
Yeah.
I think you might be onto something here.
Yeah,
The Rocky cinematic universe.
Yeah, because we
Absolutely.
haven't.
I mean, MCU. It'll be called RB.
RCU.
Yeah.
RCU. All right.
Who would play Mickey today? Who's a good older gentleman actor who has the gravitas needed for such a role?
I don't know. I mean, I'd love to be in old man makeup and just acting like this all the time.
Also,
who
I
I
think
think could do
whoever
it?
it is, they also have to be like light flyweight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the actor who played Freddy Krueger in the remake?
Oh.
Isn't it Jackie Earl
One of
Haley?
my favorite, Jackie Earl
Jackie
Haley.
Earl Haley. I think he's got Mickey vibes. No.
don't
Yeah,
know.
although I don't know that he's that much younger than Burgess Meredith, like now, than Burgess Meredith was then.
Exactly. He's perfect. He could play him now.
Dude was
No, so you're
bad
saying a
news fan.
spin-off where like Mickey decides he wants to fight again as like an ancient club owner,
Yeah.
gym owner.
Maybe if they decided to do it when he was like 16, Bad News Bears, go to Japan era.
Yeah, Kelly. What was his character's name? Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly something. Yeah, can't remember.
Kapowski.
Yes.
Man, should we play top four?
Yeah,
Sure.
whose turn is it to run it?
Oh, Paulie's looking lean in this one.
Paulie is looking.
And this is part of the, as we transition to Adrian being a fucking disastrous wet blanket, this is also us transitioning into Paulie's maybe not such a bad guy. Did you notice
No,
that?
he still is like the worst part of this movie.
Oh,
with
he's
his
fucking
abuse.
terrible. But do you notice that it's like she's like when he comes in to tell Adrian, like he's right when he comes in to tell Adrian, hey, this guy's gonna go in this fight and he's gonna get killed because of you. Like he's right, and she won't listen to him. But like also part of the reason she won't listen to him is because he was like an abusive asshole to her for her entire life that we're just kind of ignoring in this. Like she brings it up, but if you only watched this movie and you never saw the first Rocky, you'd be like, man, she's really kind of not being reasonable here. He's making a good point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he could have expressed his point in better ways.
Oh yeah,
I
no, he's a
feel.
total asshole. But he also offers to
offers
to give him some money.
Yeah, he
you
does
know.
threaten her like physically, and tells Rocky
Tells Rocky that he
physically
should hit her,
threaten
I kind of like her teeth where they are.
I thought that was like a
That's a
great
good line.
response to that.
There's some good one-liners, you know.
Yeah, I think Stallone does a great job of writing this character and
It's
having
his
him be
greatest
like,
achievement.
yeah, exactly. He created a character. It's hard to write a good dumb character, but it's even harder to write a character that's dumb but is actually also very smart in certain specific ways. And that's one of the things that makes Rocky stand out is he is a fucking moron who like just doesn't have a great vocabulary, doesn't have a great like, you know, doesn't get a lot of things, and yet intuitively gets so much.
Well, how do you guys feel about the part when the mob guy comes back and he's like, "You could have your old job with the mob. You are Italian." It's like kind of how he says it.
You
That's
meet
not
all
how
the
he says it.
qualifications.
Oh my god.
I thought. I mean, well, because like I thought that's.
I've
a
seen
good
you
scene.
eat spaghetti, like the best of them.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good scene and it makes sense, but it's like I think that's all Sylvester Stallone having to like pull that off, because at that point in the movie for the character, you're thinking like, yeah, he needs a job, like he needs to go work in a better job, like he
Yeah.
should take the offer.
And it's
You know?
and it's completely that whole, you know, not only are they rewriting the idea that Rocky is not just some bum who got lucky and made good, but he's a great fighter. But they're also rewriting that he's like not just an everyday working man. He's got like these principles that he's going to adhere to, which he really didn't have in the first movie. He was a guy trying to get by, and it was very much
at that
like
point. Yeah, at that point he is married and she is pregnant, and like he does kind of indicate, like he with gesture he kind of indicates towards his little cross necklace as if he's like maybe found religion more in some way. So there is that.
But he also doesn't have a job while he's training.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing they kind of overlooked here is like, all right, well, you know, you can train 8 hours a day, but you got to work 8 hours a day too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can't just live off of training. Nobody's paying for it.
Yeah, and like I think Mickey tells him to train like 16 hours a day anyway. It's like something ridiculous.
Like,
It was like 10 hours a day for 10 weeks for 10, whatever.
Yeah.
40,000 hours.
And you gotta catch and eat 30 chickens.
Yeah. Yeah. Mickey only knows certain numbers out of like all the numbers, so like that affects the training schedule.
You need to own and operate a Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise by the time I'm done with
But
it.
he doesn't know, he knows 70, but he doesn't know 7. It's weird the numbers that he gets and doesn't get.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a cognitive dissonance.
Harris, can we play top 4? It's like pretty much the same cast as the first movie. Have we utilized all the actors in this?
I don't know.
The chasing the chicken thing is the beginning of a trope that like will be carried out through all the rest of the Rocky movies. It's like each time he goes to a new training thing, there has to be some new way of training.
This is the first instance of carrying a log over his shoulders.
Exactly.
Which is my favorite thing.
But
have we
at the
done
same
Talia
time-
Shire?
We could try. I don't know who ran it last time. It wasn't me.
Oh my god, this guy's drawing.
Should I do it? I'll do it.
Do you remember the scene where Apollo's training? He's got a guy like sketching him, but he's like just drawing a picture of his ass. It's like, who is this guy? And he's
Sorry, I only draw you from behind.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Let's
don't
do
like
let's
to see my
let's do
face?
let's do a top 4 with Talia Shire. It'll be quick. It'll be so quick that it might be our first ever where we get them all right in the first round.
Wow. Okay. So we should explain the game to Michael.
Please.
Sure.
So if you ever go to IMDb and you search an actor, you'll see 4 movie posters that pop up. Those are their top 4 movies. Not always are there are the movies they're most popular or like the movies they're most well known for. It's kind of arbitrary how the movies are chosen. We have yet to figure out what IMDb's like method is, but it's kind of fun to guess the movies. So that's sort of the game. We take turns. We go in like a round robin style, guess one actor each turn, and until we get all 4, or guess one movie every turn.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. You ready?
Talia Shire.
Guest goes first for Talia Shire.
Okay, one more time. I got to do
Just guess
quickly.
Guess one of Talia Shire's top 4 movies according to IMDb.
Oh my god. Well, I'm gonna say Rocky.
You are right.
Excellent.
All right. Colin, you got a guess here?
The Godfather Part 2.
That is correct.
Yes.
All right,
Beautiful.
Matt.
I'm gonna say Godfather Part 1.
You are right.
Yes.
All right, Michael. It is this is the we can have our first ever 4 in a row here if you get this right. I'm not going to give you any hints, but don't overthink it.
Okay.
You might be watching this movie right now.
Someone is somewhere, that's for sure.
It's definitely in the ballpark.
I'm not gonna say Rocky 2. She had a lot of lines in Rocky 3. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go really obscure here and go Rocky 4.
Wow.
You did it. You did it. He picked the one Rocky movie, probably the most popular Rocky movie, probably the most famous and most watched. But yes, that is definitely, of all the Rocky movies, that is her 4th top 4. This is our first ever perfect run in top 4.
Is it though?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd like.
Yeah.
To
We've got nailed the first 3 a bunch of times, but we never nailed the 4th one.
Wow. That's great.
I
You did it.
I don't know why Rocky 4 popped into my head, but I will say that it was a big movie when I saw it in the movie theaters. It was huge. It was Reagan era.
Yeah, definitely a good guess of this franchise. That and Rocky 1 are probably the 2 most famous. Random question: did we ever do Carl Weathers as a top 4 guy?
I can't even remember who we did.
I don't think we have.
And did we do Stallone, or did we skip him and save him for a later movie? I feel like I remember you saying that.
Oh,
I mean, if you're the one running these,
let me
take a
let me
look.
take a look. I feel like we did do Stallone. We should probably be paying more attention to which ones we did or didn't do. I feel like we might have done him. We did Cliffhanger before too, so I feel like we definitely might have done him. Oh, Stallone's is terrible, and I feel like we've done it before.
I think we have.
It won't be fun. It's just 3 Rocky
For the
movies
record,
and Creed.
For our listeners, we're not idiots. We recorded the first Rocky episode like a month ago. Yeah. We don't remember.
Oh, you know what else Frank McRae is in, though? He's Sharky from License to Kill.
Yeah.
Yes. I knew we had a history with him.
Yeah.
License to Kill has like a really good cast. That's
It's
the
just
one
got a
with
lot of
Benicio.
randos that show up in
Yeah.
other things, for sure.
And Wayne Newton's in that one too. isn't he?
Wayne
Yep.
Yep.
There are a lot of good ones.
Newt.
All right, I feel like we have done Carl Weathers before, but yeah, maybe this is just not going to be a good. I hope there's somebody good in the next one.
Would Mickey's IMDb be any
No,
good?
because they're just it's 3 Rocky movies and something nobody's ever heard of.
Like the Twilight Zone.
It's something even more random
Yeah,
than that.
That's
Yeah.
TV though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in a lot of Twilight Zone episodes.
We could do Carl Weathers again. I don't remember when we did him before.
Yeah, I don't know if we have or not.
All right, let's give it a try.
let's
Clearly, you
give it a
guys
try,
don't
and then
remember if we have done it. Honestly, it's not going to be hard. It's going to be another fast one. But
If our listeners are as dumb as we are, they're gonna love this too.
No, honestly, I'm pretty sure Carl Weathers is the one we did when we did Rocky 1 because I think somebody guessed Action Jackson.
oh yeah, that's
Right?
right.
And that's-
you did,
and that was
you
wrong.
did get it.
And it was wrong, yeah.
because it's Happy Gilmore, Predator, and then the 2 most famous.
Yeah,
Rocky
that
movies.
is the one. That's the one we did on Rocky 1.
That's what
I
we
remember
did.
because
Good.
I guessed Happy Gilmore, I think.
What about Paulie? You do Burt Young.
He only has 3. He's only got a top 3, and they're not very good.
What? You mean he doesn't have a fourth thing?
He
They
doesn't
just
have
don't
a
show
4th thing.
anything?
No.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, I don't think we have done. I guess I told you already what Stallone is.
Wait
but
a second.
Stallone's just totally random.
Well, Burt Young was in Back to School.
And that's not.
Oh,
one of
that's
his,
right.
yeah,
And that's
not one of.
ridiculous because
yeah.
that movie's fun.
Is it just Rocky 1, 2, and 3 for him?
No, it is Chinatown, which he's in the opening scene of Rocky, and Win Win with Paul Giamatti. Is that the one with Paul Giamatti?
Huh.
Who knows?
Yes.
That's
I
a
can't
kind of a
believe-
recent movie.
Yeah.
Back to School. That also has like a low key great cast because that's the one that has
Robert Downey
It
Jr.
has, it has
Robert
Cunningham.
Downey Jr.
Yeah, Robert Downey. I mean, I got to tell you, has anybody here seen Easy Money?
I've seen part of it.
I have, but not for a long
got
time.
It's got Joe Pesci and Rodney Dangerfield and who was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the girl who has to get the abortion.
Phoebe K.
No.
Jennifer
the other
Jason
one.
Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah,
It's her
Jennifer
first
Jason.
role. I fell in love with that girl. Right.
Yeah, that was
That's
a
so
very.
well. 12 when that movie came out. I was like, wow.
Somehow Phoebe Cates became the sex symbol from that movie, and I had the exact same reaction. I was like, "Oh my god, Jennifer Jason Leigh."
Wait, isn't Jennifer Jason Leigh the Dirty Dancing and Ferris Bueller girl? or
That's
is-
Jennifer.
No, that's
Grey.
Jennifer Grey.
Jennifer.
Oh, what the fuck?
Confusing all your Jennifers.
Yeah, well, hey, at least they were both Jennifers. Like, if it was way more off than that, I don't know.
If you haven't seen Easy Money, check it out. It is worth the hour and 40 minutes. It's hilarious.
You want to do a
it
top
also
4 of Jennifer
has-
Jason Leigh?
Sure.
Well, I thought she was Jennifer Grey, so I'm not going to be very good at
Yeah,
that.
well, definitely don't guess Dirty Dancing on this one.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God, this is actually really hard. Okay, good
All
luck,
right,
guys. Mike, you are up first.
Really?
Famous Jennifer Jason Leigh movie.
Single white female.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh my God, nice job right out the gate. You're good at this game.
Damn. That's
All
like
right.
all I had for her.
My turn?
Oh, wait. Yeah,
It's
you
my
go.
turn. You know, fast times at
I'm-
Ridgemont High.
No,
Damn it.
That's ridiculous.
there's no rhyme or reason
all right.
to it. Although I will say that these are all pretty. 3 of these are decent movies. One of them is recent.
Okay, is it Hateful Eight? Yes.
Oh, that's
All right.
Wait, I think I know who that is.
Now the last 2 movies here are actually really good films. So I'm going to narrow it down to that.
That really narrows it down.
That they're really good movies, not obscure or dumb or anything like that.
So you think I would rate them better than 5 out of 10?
Colin, I don't know what your rating system is. I said they weren't dumb, so you probably would not like them as much. Mike, you're up.
I'm up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna go with easy money.
No.
It's dumb.
Colin?
She was in...
Can't even think of anything else she's
I
in.
feel like she's in another Tarantino before Hateful Eight, but I'm not sure about that.
No.
What about is she in Shortcuts? She is Shortcuts.
I was
Whoa.
just thinking,
Yeah.
Good job. Very good.
Is she the telephone sex?
The phone sex operator.
girl?
Yeah,
Yep,
that's married
got
to
it. Nailed it.
Chris Penn. Penn.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. This is a very good movie, but that doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Okay, are you able to give some sort of
We're
hint?
not in the hint
Doesn't have to
round
be-
yet, but I will give you this. It's co-stars an Oscar winner.
Robert Downey was in
Anyone.
Shortcuts also, by the way.
True. He was Chris Penn's buddy
Oh.
who watches him murder that girl during an earthquake. That's a really good movie.
Yeah,
I
that
should
would
watch that.
that would
was
have been
like
traumatizing.
That was so out of context of the film.
No, it all builds to that. It's all building up to that.
I guess so.
Is the movie or is the Oscar winner an Oscar winner from this movie that I'm trying to guess?
No.
Is this movie an Oscar-winning movie of any kind?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so it's good just by Harris standards, not by Academy standards.
All right, let me look it up then. I'll tell you. It's it was
We all know the Academy doesn't have standards. Oh no.
nominated for several minor awards, nothing big.
Yeah.
I know movies she's in, but I can't think of any. I'm gonna guess An Officer and a Gentleman. Is she even in that movie?
I don't
Probably
think she is,
think so.
and definitely
See?
not.
That's an interesting guess,
That's
though. I will say.
not it. Also, I just looked it up. She is in a movie with 1 Oscar winner and 2 Oscar nominees. Oh, actually,
one I'm
no.
trying
I
to
should.
guess?
I take that back. I forgot. 1 Oscar winner, 2 Oscar winners, and 1 Oscar nominee.
Well, now you can give. Is that your hint that
Well,
you're
I guess
giving
that could
us?
be a
That's
hint.
supposed to help us.
I'll give you a better hint then.
Is
All
it,
right.
is it a Stephen King?
That was going to be my hint, so
Is
I
that
think
it?
you know it. Yeah,
Is it Dolores Claiborne?
it is Dolores Claiborne.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
I mean, all I'm thinking of is Kathy Bates.
yep, that's it. Kathy
Okay.
Bates, Christopher Plummer, and David Strathairn was the nominee.
Yeah, I remember David. I don't remember Plummer, but I remember.
Is it Titanic?
Plummer played the detective in that movie.
Is it Titanic?
Titanic.
That's with Kathy Bates.
Wait, that was the fourth one, right?
Yes, that
We're
was the
done with
4th
her?
one. You got it.
Wait, what
Alright.
was
You
it?
guys have gotten them.
It was Dolores Claiborne.
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was a person's name. Hey, I haven't seen that one.
Very good. Very good.
My bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad Jennifer Jason Leigh was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
challenging.
Oh, Rocky Dose.
Oh,
Dolores
we're at
Claiborne?
I'm at the coma scene,
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're
me
all
too.
sort of slogging through the coma
and it's
scene
been
at this
actually
point.
through the top 4. The whole time the coma scene's been happening.
We could probably do several other top 4s before the coma scene is over.
Pretty soon, this podcast is just going to become like a top 4. We're going to
It's
call
going to be
ourselves
Talia
top 4.
Shire's coma dream.
Yeah, we're in her coma dream. We should subtitle License to Watch. It should be License to Watch : Talia Shire's coma dream.
People will understand.
Yeah. We get a cease and desist from Talia Shire.
It wouldn't be
Somehow
the worst
she
thing.
sent this letter from a coma. I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense.
Is this really happening? I love the division between Mickey and Rocky with the cross in between them.
Yeah. That scene is really good, though. That's like I do feel that that's Burgess Meredith's best scene, and it's because the scene before it, he's like, he actually does tell Rocky, "You're just a bum. I don't give a fuck about you. Go away."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, like your wife's in a coma. Let me actually like be real with you." And then he's like, there's even like it's almost like a little bit of self-discovery there, where he's like, "Oh, like I really care about this. Like I care about you trying to train, and like I don't know how to like get you to train."
I got a
It's a
question.
good scene.
Of the
I have another question. Also,
Okay, you go ahead. Throw your
I
question.
too have a
All
question.
right, let's all have questions.
mine's the stupidest. Can I go first?
Yes, you should.
Is Dolores Claiborne about Liz Claiborne's evil twin?
Yes, it is.
That sounds awesome.
I was gonna say we could play the who's oldest game with the principal actors in this movie, which is I think a little more difficult than you would think. Between Burt Young, Talia Shire, Carl Weathers, Sylvester Stallone, and Burgess Meredith. Mm-hmm.
Rank them from oldest to youngest?
Yeah,
First
from
of all,
oldest to youngest.
Burgess. So Mickey's been sleeping for the past 3 scenes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna take a nap, and they just shot around him sleeping.
Then there's like 8 crossfades.
Right.
Yeah, and a pensive piano the entire
Right?
time, just
I'm gonna
constantly.
get paid to sleep here.
So obviously, I'm gonna save you guys some suspense. Burgess Meredith is the oldest of all those people, but the other ones are all pretty close in age.
All right, can I try?
Yeah,
Okay, so obviously we got Burgess Meredith at the top. Next up, I would say I'm gonna go Carl Weathers,
What?
then Burt Young, then Stallone, then Talia Shire.
you are not quite right. Does anybody want to guess where he went wrong?
I think he made Carl Weathers too old.
Yes, he did. Burt Young was born in 1940. Carl Weathers was born in 1948. And also he was wrong about Talia Shire and Sylvester Stallone. He was pretty much wrong in every
Across
way
the board.
that you could possibly
Perfect
be wrong.
score.
Yeah. It wasn't a good showing there. I'm trying to figure out.
But I got Burgess Meredith right. The answer that was given to me.
Actually, I'm gonna say the baby is the youngest.
The baby is definitely the youngest.
The baby is Stallone's actual child, right? His
Yes,
son.
with
Yep.
the most hair I've ever seen on a baby ever.
It does look like if you've ever seen a baby chimpanzee, where it's kind of doesn't have hair on its face, but it's got like really spiky black hair on its head. That's what this baby
It did
looks
look like that.
It looks
looks
a
like
lot
they-
like it.
It looks like they put a wig on the baby.
There's
I
some
just
real
love
Curious
baby
George shit
wig.
happening with this baby.
I just love
Yeah.
Burgess Meredith's reaction to when they bring him the baby. He's like, "That's it."
Yeah.
It's like
So-
the ad lib that stayed in the movie.
Just to establish finish our game of ages, Carl Weathers is actually the youngest in 1948. The Talia Shire and Sylvester Stallone were both born in 1946. Stallone is younger than Talia Shire is by a couple of months.
Yeah.
So Carl Weathers is the baby of this game.
Interesting.
Wow.
But the
Nice.
most mature.
Definitely the most jacked.
He's definitely the biggest.
He's definitely the blackest.
Oh,
No, that's true. That's accurate.
yeah.
That is true. I mean, it's an observation I made.
Matt was paying attention during this movie.
Yeah. I got that Burgess Meredith is old and Carl Weathers is black. Those are my takeaways. And the baby is hairy. Oh man.
Did you guys know that somebody traced the route that Rocky runs from South Philly to the steps of the museum and found out that it would be 30 miles?
Yeah.
So like, I guess he cabs it back. I don't know.
It's not that bad. The worst part of that scene is, I mean,
All the children chasing him?
yeah, I'm just gonna explain this with an anecdote. I was watching this movie, and my girlfriend only saw this one part, and she just flat out asked me, "Is he some kind of pedo?"
Yeah, he's got like a Pied Piper vibe going on.
Yeah, it's like she's like, "Where are their parents? Like, why are they letting these kids just go out in the street and go with this man? Like, go run with that man? Who they don't know that man."
Has anybody ever been to Philly before? And like walked from Old Town to the steps of that museum?
I have.
I've been to Philly, but the only walking I did was from Pat's to Gino's and back again.
Oh yeah, no, I did that too. Yeah, right across South Street there, you know. But we did, like, I went for a wedding and we walked from Old Town all the way to the steps, and I was like, when are we gonna get there? It is the worst. It's the worst.
Well, the problem is you weren't running. If you had sprinted, it would have been so much faster.
Yeah. The
probably.
problem is all of the city's children weren't chasing behind you for some reason.
You know, it's not a crime to get along with children. That's not why people get thrown in jail.
But like the scene is so funny. Like there's not an adult behind him. It's all only children. And like, where are
800.
their parents?
To be exact.
I can't get over my thing with this whole workout montage, which is, you know, it's good. And it's they clearly are, so much of this movie is influenced by the reaction of the first movie. And obviously we weren't the only people that were amazed by his accelerating sprinting speed, because they basically do the exact same thing here at the end of his jog.
One of those kids thought they could catch him.
Yeah, for a second there, he thought he could. I can't get over, have you, any of you guys tried to do a one-armed pull-up before?
Oh, that's impossible.
It's very hard. He cranks out like 6 of them. Like, he does a lot of one-armed push-ups, and that's fine. But, like, I can do a few one-armed push-ups, and I'm not even in very good shape. A one-armed, like, chin-up is, like, I don't know. I don't even know how a human does that. And he cranks out several of them on camera, and I'm just like, oh, man, you got to be in really good shape. Like, really good shape. I mean, I know he's in really good shape, but that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I feel like doing a movie like this is sort of like a great excuse to get in this kind of shape. Like I often like fantasize like that I get cast in like I'm the lead in some like crazy action movie, and like they just hire all these trainers, like they have to get me in shape. I have to get in that sort
Matt,
of
you
tip-top
realize
shape.
that those trainers don't actually do the push-ups for you. You know, it's, like you still have to do the work, unfortunately.
I don't know if I buy that.
That is kind of a fantasy for me too. It's just like I do like try to take some time to like actually work out or like, you know, do care about my body or something. But the idea of like getting paid, yeah, somebody's got it. The idea of like getting paid for that and encouraged to do that and like getting help with doing that, like all for something else that you're gonna do. That's what you're really getting paid for.
But at
that
the end,
sounds
you still
fucking
gotta
great.
You still gotta do it though, and that's the thing.
I
It's
would
like
love to.
If you can't,
I would love to do that too.
Can't do it.
Imagine
now.
if you had all day. Like
Yeah.
the only thing anyone expects of you is that you work out for like several hours of that day.
You got 70 hours in 70 weeks.
Yeah, but let me ask you: have you ever like been out of work or something and had like days off or something? Did you go, well, I got nothing to do, so, you know, I got all day. Why don't I just work out a bunch? Because you're lazy.
I couldn't afford a gym. When I was out of work.
You don't need a gym. You can sit there and do push-ups on the floor of your house. You can go out and jog around the block.
Yeah, but how long can you do that for?
All day.
I've worked out.
That would be the workout.
Unemployed. I have. I have. I don't appreciate the insinuation that I would not do a workout as an unemployed.
Colin, you're not in terrible shape, I guess. I don't know. No, I'm just.
All I'm saying is, if you were paid to like work out and get in shape, it would be a lot better.
It would be a little more.
That's your full-time job.
I get it. It would be slightly more incentivizing, but I think if we all think that we would suddenly get ripped because somebody was encouraging us, I don't know. I think that's not really like you'd be eating chicken and rice every day and just working out nonstop. You would hate it. You would hate that. You would hate that as well. You would hate it just as much as you hate it now when you don't do it for free just to be healthier.
No, I don't know if I would hate it. But there are other obstacles. Some people, I'm not gonna say it's me, but obviously I'm talking about myself. Some people have weird shaped bodies that even if they are in really good shape, like they're not necessarily aesthetically.
Like your good shape isn't a normal shape.
Yeah, I don't know.
My shape is kind of like a lowercase g, and I think that's good. That's a good shape. It's a good shape.
You lost your knees years ago. Your legs just like loop around.
Loopy legs.
I'm not in quote unquote good shape, but I'm in a good shape.
My knees were obliterated years ago.
I am in a good shape. It's just not the shape you want.
It's a shape.
Yeah.
It's a shape.
We're all in a shape.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Rocky 2 is kind of like the movie they would have made Rocky 1 to be if they had like a budget, or if like people actually knew what Rocky was when they were making
If there was expectations and there was some producer being like, you can't lose. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Exactly.
If there was an expectation of a production company being like, your hero loses? No. Pass.
Yep.
You're just going to run by yourself? No. 1,000 children are going to follow you.
All of the city's children of the entire city of Philadelphia.
We love the script, but a couple of notes. Need more children. Little pedo vibe with the hero. He definitely can't lose in the end. And can we hate the woman a little bit? Because I don't like women, and I'd like to have a movie where I hate them a little more. Yeah. Okay, got it. Got all the notes. That's going to be Rocky 2. We'll save that for the sequel.
Yep. Looks like it.
All right. Are
Brent
we ready to rate
Musburger
this?
is in this one. That's another big time celebrity cameo.
Who?
Brent Musburger. He's like a sports announcer guy.
Right,
He's
right,
like
right,
still
right.
He still works now. He's like, I guess, famous.
No, I didn't hear. I
He
didn't
must
hear
be
what you said. I
he must
knew
be
who
1,000
it was,
years
but
old now.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. He was. Wasn't he Howard Cosell's sidekick for a while?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Cosell. I am shocked they didn't get him.
I just I admire him because he would have had a future as someone who could open and franchise a burger restaurant, as someone who can tell you that you need the must burger. It's sort of like you must have it. You guys still there?
It's times like these where I wish my internet would give out.
We haven't talked about Rocky's driving at all. Should we talk about Rocky's inability to drive and how he doesn't get better at it throughout the movie?
Am.
That Trans Am's pretty sweet.
That's a hot car. That was Smokey and the Bandit's car.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That was
funny.
a dope
When I was a kid and those things were popular, I thought they were ugly as hell. And now, just sheerly through the power of nostalgia, I'm like, yeah, man, a Trans Am, that would be pretty fucking cool.
Actually, you're approaching middle age, so that's
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm rife for Trans Amdom.
Yeah.
exactly.
With-
It's all
if you-
about the cars, man.
Yeah.
You go to the doctor, they've got like a timeline of like the years of life in a chart, and like they have like a highlighted section that's like the Trans Am.
The Trans
years.
Am area.
Yeah.
Corvette, Trans Am.
Me being upset that girls in their late 20s or early 30s don't appreciate my Trans Am enough.
Yep. Hey, honey, do you know what this is? This is a Trans Am.
This is a vintage Trans Am.
I don't know why I'm doing a voice for
I
that.
did the rebuild myself.
My other car's a Corvette.
Have you seen the 8-track player?
Oh yeah. There's some good sounding tapes. Got my tapes.
Yeah,
I got my tapes right here. You can see my cassettes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, those are cassettes. Right there.
Yep, I got a couple of bootlegs in here from like the 80s.
Nice.
I bootlegged some Rush. I bootlegged Jimmy Page and The Firm back in '83.
Wow.
80,
Wait, the soundtrack to the
86.
movie The Firm?
No, it was Paul Rogers and Jimmy Page.
I know, I'm
And
just
a couple
kidding.
of other dudes. No, I enjoy. I don't know. I used to do all that crazy stuff when I was a kid. I don't do it anymore.
I used to make tapes off the radio when I was a kid.
Tapes. I miss tapes. I miss them.
Tapes were good.
I like the clonking noises that they make.
That like thick. I think we've talked about this on the show. The ka-chunk sound of like hitting the play
Yeah.
button.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like on one of those
Oh, yeah.
old, you know, the old tape recorders that everyone had, like they were in like every movie and everything. They were a little long, like the whole back half was a speaker and then the front was the tapes, and when you press the buttons, you get a nice ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Yeah, especially when the buttons are like almost like down levers, like those kind of
Yeah.
buttons. Oh, those are great buttons. Yeah.
This is the old Walkman,
Yes.
but it's a digital Walkman.
I don't know how people walked
Oh,
without
nice.
them. You know, like I don't know how people walked before Sony invented the
They didn't.
Walkman. They didn't.
They all had lowercase g bodies back then.
And they ran everywhere, chased by 800 children.
All right, let's rate this thing.
Oh, wait, I think I just figured out one of the tricks to writing a dumb character well. Just make him observing things that have nothing to do with anything. Like Rocky's constantly just being like not in the moment. Like
No,
they're walking
like,
in and he's just like, hey, you like this robe? It's like the other robe. The other robe was baggy though, and this is a different robe.
Well, it's like that thing that we pointed out in the first movie. Like everything has to be explained in the script. Like her hat fell off in a take, and they didn't use
Yeah.
it, so they had to write a line in
where's
where
your
he
hat?
says, "Where's your hat?" Yeah. So in this one, he's got a different robe on. So he's like, people might be confused. I had a different color robe on in the first movie, so I should add a line here where I address that
Yeah.
the robe is different.
Yeah, he should say that the robe is better so that people know that this is a better robe than the last
Yeah.
robe.
They, I like
It
the
is.
announcers though in this scene who are making fun of him for like they were like, hey, last time we saw him, he was wearing a robe from an auto parts shop, and this one is his high school colors from the high school he didn't graduate from. It's like they're just
Yeah, why-
mercilessly trashing this dude.
I know, but like, why are the announcers so like they're painted as villains? The one guy is like, I've never seen so many Italians in one place in my life. And the other guy's like, I'm not gonna touch on that. Like, what the fuck? Like, is he about to go full racist in this broadcast?
So here's another budgetary thing. Like they have an actual audience for the fight instead of stock footage.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
CG nowadays, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, or if I remember correctly, Rocky Balboa is like shot just like an actual like a modern boxing match. Like they use the same camera angles and setups and stuff as if you were watching it on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember
Really?
that? Yeah.
Pay-per-view.
I remember pay-per-view.
Actually,
Remember pay-per-view?
I do know that after the second round, when they start getting into that that little tussle,
Oh, the little the spat they have at the end
spat
when the
that they
bell
had,
rings.
that was actually
that was
real.
supposed to be real, right?
like they actually were hitting each other, and one of them got mad at the other one, and they started getting into an argument.
Yeah, the story is that Carl Weathers landed a couple of punches that he was supposed to pull,
Nah.
and Stallone wanted to kick his ass and pushed him or something after the bell, and Carl Weathers pushed him back, and that they had to be like pulled apart, and they were just like, fuck it, leave it in the movie. There is so
I think
much.
it's great.
There is so much
great.
here though that like would not fly in a real boxing match. Like, you know, just hitting after the bell and random like throwing and grabbing of people and like tackling guys, and there's just stuff like a couple of times Stallone pushes him with two hands in the face and like throws him
like-
up against the corner.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the referee in a boxing match can stop the fight if he feels it is unsafe. For instance, if maybe one fighter chooses not to block punches and instead thrust his head into the punches of the other boxer, the referee is allowed to say, "I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna
This
put a
is
stop to
you
this."
must protect
Yeah.
yourself at all times. That is like, and Rocky's basically like, wait, I must protect myself at some time. I don't know if I can handle that. No, all times. I'm
Also unrealistic when Apollo Creed hit Rocky's nutsack like a speed bag. That was crazy.
Also, like the previous movie where we talked about the reality of it is that he never could have gotten a title fight because nobody would have, like, you couldn't have a title fight without at least beating one contender. Yeah, I mean, forget about sanctioning. Even if it was an exhibition, it wouldn't have counted towards the title if he hadn't beaten a contender. You got to be in contention before you can even fight a title fight for the title. This one has sort of another error that it wouldn't be accurate in the way the whole fight wraps up. As soon as he knocks Creed out at the end, if Creed doesn't get up, he wins the fight. And the announcers go to great pains to explain that if they're both counted out, the fight is a draw and Creed would retain the title. But the truth is Rocky didn't get knocked out. He slipped. So, you know, like he can't get counted as a knockout if Creed didn't hit him. He punched Creed and fell down. And so he isn't being counted out at the end, but it's kind of a minor technicality, but it makes for that drama of like which one of them will get up. I also think it's funny that they go out of their way for Creed to look like he's totally going to get up fine and then decides to just like sort of collapse and sit in his ass on the turnbuckle. Whereas Rocky is still on the ground at like 9 and then somehow still manages to get up.
Yeah. Like also if you do like hit the mat and get back up, you have to like fully stand back up and like stand there for a second. And like the ref has to like touch you and look at you in the eyes and confirm that you are like
not unconscious, but on your feet somehow. Because that happens.
Yeah. And that the ref doesn't do that at all. And Rocky doesn't even really get up. He like kind of is on his 2 feet for a second and then just falls
like
back
the fight's over.
Yeah.
and
like,
then immediately some guy comes in and carries him.
Yeah, they're like, he clearly won. When, like, I believe if it was a real fight, 90% of the audience would be like, is that guy alive? Is he dead?
Yeah. Why
because
is his ghost walking
just
around?
Got punched. Yeah.
I mean, watching the fight without sound right now, it's like you see, like, there's a few punches that are getting thrown that aren't being thrown, but their heads are going back.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's true of almost every Rocky movie. You never like you know what you need to do when you have the sound on. You know that it was them dodging a punch when there's no sound effect of the punch landing. Right. But if the punch lands, then there's a punch sound, and then it wasn't a dodge. That's all it is.
The power of sound design, people.
Exactly.
Power of sound design. Very important.
All right. Should we get to it? I can go first.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I think this is I think we compared it to the Magic Mike franchise a little bit last time in that it started off as this sort of gritty indie character study that then turned into sort of this populist fantasy. And I think this movie confirms what our suspicions were about the franchise. The first one is this kind of gritty drama about poor people trying to figure out how to make good. And this one is, hey, but what if these people are actually amazing and they get everything they want? Obviously, they got to face some adversity, and they throw a lot of adversity in his way. Some of it is great and feels very natural. Some of it doesn't. The fight scene looks amazing, but I can't get over how unrealistic his boxing technique is. I enjoyed the movie.
You're going to have a tough time with the other movie.
I know. And to Colin's point, it's amazing how many of these moments that are like tear-jerking moments and inspirational moments still impact me and get me a little misty, even when I can see all the puppet strings and I think they're very like clumsily handled. There are great moments of Rocky being humbled and, Mickey coming around and offering his services and giving him a job at the gym. And of course the great moment when Adrian says win is incredible, even though everything else about Adrian fucking sucks in this movie and is not handled well. So yeah, loved it, enjoyed it. It's a really fun movie, but it's like the dumb version of Rocky. It's the dumb version where the producers had too much to say about it. And it sets up a franchise. It's a really fun franchise. It takes it in a whole different direction. And for that, I sort of give it a little extra bonus points. And it is very entertaining. This should probably be a 6 for me. But because it kind of establishes what the Rocky franchise becomes, I got to give it a little extra for exactly the reasons that it should be a 6. It's stupid populism. I also have to credit it for sort of establishing what's going on, and I give this movie 7 Timothy Dolphins.
Wow.
By the way, we rate things, Mike, on a Timothy Dolphin scale.
Copy that.
We will not explain what that means.
No explanation necessary.
But it's 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I feel like at this point it's really it's ingrained in the culture.
All right, I'll go next. All right, so let's see. Rocky 1, I think, is one of the greats. It's a classic movie. I gave it a 10. It's damn near perfect. It's like, what I think filmmakers aspire to achieve. It's like an uplifting, feel-good movie that's like got all the right beats, and all the acting, the performances are great, the music is great, everything's great. This movie is up there too. It's pretty damn near like similar, to the first movie. Like I said, this is sort of the first movie if it had a budget. It's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit louder, and the fight is longer and better. Having said all that, I feel like it is missing something. It's missing that element that the first movie had. I don't know exactly what it is. I feel like it lags a little bit in the middle, whereas the first movie kept you gripped the entire time. I guess just the emotion and like the through line of the story is like a little bit clearer and more relatable in the first movie, and in this one, it's a little bit more of a stretch. And like I said earlier, it's like a little frustrating. Because you just want to see them fight already, and as a viewer that it's just going to get there at some point. Having said that, this is not a bad movie at all. My memory, like going into this, was that this movie was going to be a stinker, but I was like pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed it. And it really, if there's anything wrong with it, it gets redeemed by the fight at the end. It's like so compelling, and it's so like edge of your seat, what's going to happen. And you just feel for Rocky's face, like getting pummeled, and it's really miraculous that he wins. But hey, that's the movies, So I'm not going to give this one a 10. I don't think it's as memorable, as the first movie, clearly. But I think I'm going to give this a solid 8 Timothy Dolphins. All right. Michael, you want to give it a shot? We kind of summarize, and then you give your number score at the end.
Okay. So I've seen this movie numerous times, especially when it was on HBO, like every day for like 2 years. And it did open my world to Rocky, because I saw this movie before I saw Rocky 1. But I will say that it does have a similar charm to the first movie. I think it has a lot of innovative... I mean, for crying out loud, they invented the Steadicam for Rocky, which is insane, which you can see it just works because it puts you right in there. And I feel like as much as this movie is disliked by a lot of people, you can make fun of it, you can, talk shit about it, but I do feel it does have that charm. I do feel like there's a lot of heart in the film. I do feel like taking the coma out of the movie, and instead of her coming out of the coma and saying win, I mean, she could have just come out of the kitchen. Or the bedroom, or the
pet
shower.
shop.
Doesn't really matter. The pet shop doesn't matter. They could have gone to the ice skating rink for old memories. But I feel like, little longer than it needed to be, but they were doing 2-hour movies back then because that's what you paid for. In my opinion, I would say if Rocky being a solid 10, I'm going to probably say 7.5 Timothy Dolphins.
I think the coma's necessary. But
The guests always love cutting our dolphins in half.
They do.
yeah.
They always like
Can I
half
just say one
dolphins.
more thing?
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump in here and say we kind of went in this territory earlier, but I do feel like having just watched the first one and now watching this, they are so similar, and I feel like they do play really well together as like a double header, a double feature, as opposed to just watching like Mike said that he watched Rocky 2 before he saw Rocky 1. Like I wonder if I had never seen the first Rocky, if like watching this one would be more or less enjoyable. But I don't know. I feel like if this was one long movie, if they cut off the first 20-minute recap of this movie and just like continued it, like would that be a really good epic like boxing movie? Who's to say? I don't know. Maybe someone could do. Maybe one of our listeners could do a supercut. Send it to us.
I'll say this: I feel like if you're trying to fit them together, 1 and 2 fit together really well, and 3 and 4 fit together really well. But those two groups of two don't. There's a little gap there, you know. Like 2 is the jumping off point to where, like the fantasy nature of 3 and 4 is made possible, you know.
Yeah.
Totally.
Not that they're fantasy movies. There's no wizards. I'm sorry if anyone's watching along.
If anyone's disappointed at the lack of wizards in the Rocky movies,
You know, I feel like 1 and 2 are underdog stories, and 3 and 4 are not, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
Why people
Yeah.
kind of, why people root for Rocky in 1 and 2, and in 3 and 4, it's like, okay, what are we doing? Even though we
Well, that's why they had to give him something better than just achieving life goals. He had to like solve communism and avenge his trainer.
Right.
Like that. Those
solve communism.
like it wasn't good enough for him to just be a good boxer. But it is, it's kind of a lesson in how like you can't make a sequel without upping the stakes. Because the first one is like, hey, can he become not a total loser? Hey, can he become the world champion? Hey, can he avenge his murdered trainer? Hey, can he create world peace? And then in the last one, hey, can he beat some guy in an alley fight?
Right.
It's just one of the many reasons that Rocky 5 fucking sucks.
In answer to the
sucks.
supercut, just cut out the coma.
No.
Super cut out that coma. I'm watching the final fight. And I think you said earlier, Mike, that the Raging Bull influence there of obviously this as a movie. I think Scorsese. I assume he's seen this, but like that moment when Stallone gets his bell rung and we get some kind of wacky POV cameras looking at the audience. When we come back to that, we get a lot of those slow motion moments of almost a head-on shot of Creed with backlit, like rim lit, and steam rising off of him, and I was like, oh my god, there's a lot of Raging Bull in that. And I mean, so and obviously Raging Bull came out a few years later, so this is something that I think is certainly an influential. The ring shots of the fight scene in this movie, I think, had a lasting impact on not just this franchise but all boxing movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's well done.
It really is.
I think Raging Bull came out the next year, right? Is this movie 1979?
79.
And then Raging Bull's 80.
Raging
right?
Bull was 80 or 81?
I think it's 80.
Yeah, I think 80.
Could be wrong though.
So
Why
it's
don't you guys
possible
use the internet?
it's also possible he didn't even see this while he could have been shooting Raging Bull while this happened.
true.
But still, it's kind of at least a huge coincidence. There's definitely some similarities here.
Here's the thing about, like, you're talking about each time each time you make a sequel, you have to raise the stakes. Do you think there was a producer on Rocky 2 that was like really upset about them both falling down at the same time? Because I feel like that's something you have to save if you're going to know that you're going to raise stakes consistently. Then you want to save because in boxing, one person falls down or the other person falls down. That's like a big thing. So both of them falling down at the same time, you want to save that for when you have to raise the stakes all the way. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Like, do you think there was a producer on Rocky 2 who's like, no, don't write it like that. We need to make we can't have them do that until 7.
Are there Italians that don't have a lot of body hair? Because Stallone is like, I mean, the amount of wax that it would take to make him look like that if he's like a standard. I'm just asking. I'm just throwing it out.
Good question.
Are you asking me, Harris?
As the expert Italian in this group.
Well, I'm Sicilian, so yes, we have a lot of hair. But Northern Italians and most, probably don't. They're more Germanic, as they say.
Okay. Because I'm amazed. He doesn't have hair on his chest, and I would expect hair like on the back of the shoulders.
Yeah, that sounds more Sicilian.
Okay.
To me.
All right.
But you know what? I mean, look, Who knows?
Maybe they waxed him. Maybe it's natural. I don't know.
Sure.
We may never get to the bottom of that one.
Why don't we could ask him.
Yeah, I like getting waxed over here.
Colin,
Can't have any back hair. It's ugly.
Yeah, I've always
right.
wanted to go to a comedy club in Sicily because I'd like to get silly with some Sicilians.
oh God, Colin. Why don't you give your Timothy Dolphin?
Just give us your
rating?
ranking and stop.
You can just give us your ranking and leave. Thank you.
I think I'm also gonna go with a 7.5. I think
Who says
the
the number
coma's
first.
I think the
What
coma.
are you doing here?
I think the coma.
You're breaking the format.
I know.
What is with this whack ass shitty drawing at the end of that standing there? Did Sylvester Stallone draw this? What is this thing at the end? After the credits roll, it's like him hugging Mickey, and it's just like I don't know what what do they draw
stick
it
with
in?
that. They stick with that. They do the drawing things as part of the beginning and ends of the connector. You know how like the beginning of 3 has the end of 2.
Right, but I mean, what was this drawing
They
made
stick
with?
with
Like,
the drawing
was
things.
this drawing like gluing human hair to construction paper or something? How did they create this drawing? It looks fucking terrible.
It looks
like a nail on a piece of wood.
So
They
as
chiseled
part
it.
of my list of things that I have learned, photography was another one. This is like a lithograph. You know,
Yeah.
it's a high contrast negative.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so shut up, Harris.
Yeah, it looks like shit. They should have done a
Yeah.
better one.
They should have, absolutely.
I can't tell where Mickey's face is in the picture. That's the biggest problem for me.
It's under his hat.
Also, like the final freeze frame of the first movie is him hugging Adrian. And it's like a blurry thing, and it's just like it is an awesome timepiece like frame to end on. And in this one, they just end on his bloody ass eye and his face. Like
Yeah.
it just looks gross. You're like, well, I don't want to end on this and zoom in slowly into it.
Also, speaking of random titles, they have the Rocky 2 scroll across at the very beginning before we watch the last 10 minutes of Rocky 1. And then after we watch the last 10 minutes of Rocky 1, they put up a Rocky 2 title again. This movie has 2 title cards.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, it's the second movie. You have to have 2.
Yeah, that's why the third one, they've got 3 title cards.
But on the back of Mickey's shirt, jacket there says Rocky, not Rocky.
It should say Rocky 2.
Yeah.
What gives? All right, Colin,
lied
with
to
that
us.
all in mind, does it change your Timothy Dolphin score at all?
By the way,
r-
loving memory to Jane Oliver. Does anybody know who Jane Oliver is?
No.
I do not.
Stallone.
Oliver Twist's mother. Sorry, no, I don't know.
No, she was his manager or his agent, his first agent, and I think
Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. That's nice.
so he dedicated
Well,
the movie to her.
Did any of you guys, Harris or Michael, did you guys have John Watson, the professor?
Sure.
546. I see here that under fight and training montages supervised by John Watson and Penn Densham, who is his writing partner, which I know. So that's definitely him. So I don't
Interesting.
know how that came about, but now I kind of want to ask him.
Interesting.
Fight and training montages supervised by. Interesting. So the shooting of them or the
It sounds like an
editing
editing
of-
thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Maybe
Because the next credit after that is edited by. So like the fight and training montages are edited by this guy whose name I don't know, and then but the fight and training montages were supervised by.
I wonder if it has
So
anything to do
montage.
with Stallone directing and acting at the same time. Maybe they had, sort of a supporting cast to kind of run the show when for things that he was in.
Maybe.
Yeah.
it's possible
Because it kind of sounds like a made up credit that they give to somebody who they bring on to like do something that doesn't have a technical name.
Maybe he was wrangling the hordes of children that were following Stallone around.
No, I think they had Children Wrangler as one of the separate credits.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was a
different
separate
thing,
credit,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's a border
Yeah.
collie.
Butkus Stallone, Children Wrangler.
He's hurting
All right.
you.
Colin, give us your thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This movie's a lot of nostalgia for me. It's technically, I guess, the first Rocky I ever saw. I feel like I said all the stuff I wanted to say. I sort of agree with some of the things that you guys have said, but
You don't have to say extra
obviously,
things,
like-
Colin. Nobody's. Nobody expects that of you.
Yeah.
Well, I think people expect it, actually, because you do say a lot of extra things. But do they want it? That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I hope for the fans that tuned in because they thought these were geology movies that they were able to stick with it.
So 7.5 Timothy Dolphins.
Yes, 7.5 Timothy Dolphins.
For Rocky 4, you're gonna have to do Dolph Lundgren's.
Right?
Timothy Dolph Lundgren.
That's pretty good. That's
good.
pretty good.
Timothy Dolph
I'm glad we've established that.
All right.
Of course,
Michael Starr,
you did just step all over a potential Rocky 4 joke that we're not going to have to.
I'm so sorry.
No,
Edit it out.
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, what's Rocky for? For fighting, silly.
Prog Rocky.
Prog rock. Oh man, that prog rock joke. Who told that? That was awful.
Wow.
All right.
Mike Starr, thanks for being our guest. Thanks for taking time in your normal life to do this.
I had a great time. This is a lot of fun.
Do you want to take this opportunity to to plug your movie or plug anything else that you have that you're working on or whatever?
Sure.
Where can people find it and watch it and all that stuff?
So Cicada Song available on Amazon, Apple TV, Tubi TV, Vudu, Google Play, YouTube Plus, Roku. If you want to watch it for free, it's Roku, Tubi, and IMDb TV. And, that's with commercials, but it's free to watch. And then coming, it's actually on DVD and Blu-ray as well. You can get those anywhere retail Blu-rays and DVDs are sold. And then coming in the next couple of months, we have a documentary called It's in the Blood, and it's about the origins of Chattanooga racing.
What's the elevator pitch for Cicada Song?
A woman left for dead basically uncovers a mystery in her hometown that kind of leads to her being left for dead in the woods, so to speak, and she has to find her way back. But the movie kind of backtracks and back and forth between, her finding her way out of the woods and what got her there in the first place. But it's kind of like your old mystery thrillers, Nancy Drew type thing. But it's got a lot of elements that we feel, speak to the times.
Intriguing. I'll check it out.
Do you want to hear my pitch for Cicada Song 2? It's a lot of cicadas start piling. They like a whole hive or a hive of them. They all start stacking up on each other until they are able to walk around like a person.
Kind of like Mimic.
Yeah, Mimic.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, that elevator pitch was the absolute worst.
It's like an elevator that gets stuck.
Yeah,
someone pushes the emergency button.
Thanks, Harris, for if I didn't prepare for that.
I don't know. I thought you had me at thriller. I'm down for a thriller.
Yeah,
We'll just cut up the audio so you're like, movie is good. Cicada Song. It's just random
you know what?
words.
I'm gonna take that one more time. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. It's a mystery thriller about a woman who gets left for dead in her hometown after discovering that her lover and a missing child have gone missing without a trace.
Wow.
That sounds good.
It does.
I meant to watch it before this episode, but my life has been a fucking blur for the past couple of weeks.
Dude, you've been moving, which is why, number one, you're moving. Number two, I'm recovering. Number three,
Yeah, we should say
and
that
as
we tried to
as
have
was
you on the
established
show
before,
a month ago.
Matt does not like moving unless he's being paid to do it by some production company trying to get him in shape. He's as sedentary as humanly possible.
Yes.
I don't blame you, man. At all. But yeah, so check it out. You know, give us a shout.
Oh yeah, do you have like a social media? Someone's cat is going crazy.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
It's mine. Mine are asleep.
That's funny. Yeah, we have Instagram, Cicada Song 1. We have Twitter, Cicada Song 1. Facebook. What else is there?
That's it.
Yeah, those are the big three, aren't they? Well, what's that?
All right.
What's that other one that doesn't exist anymore?
TikTok.
No, I'm not
What
on
about-
TikTok.
oh.
We don't
Parlor?
do TikTok.
Parlor.
No, it was
MySpace.
MySpace.
Grindr?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have one of those.
Oh. Damn.
Alrighty, well, awesome. That sounds great, and we'll put that in the show notes, so that people can check those out.
Sure, thank you.
And hopefully see the movie. So yeah, again, thanks for doing this, and I guess we'll look forward to Rocky 3. Do we have any closing statements? Anything we forgot to say about this movie?
It's great.
Yeah, we're all just waking up from. Yeah, anything derogatory to say about this movie? It's great.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Oh, we're just waking up from our coma dream.
Yep.
Indeed.
Or are we?
Or are we? Yeah.
All
What,
right.
what if she didn't know he was a boxer anymore, but she still did want him to win?
It's kind of impressive how like that whole sequence where she wakes up is like he feels her squeezing his hand and then he looks and her eyes are like wide open and she's like, "Hey, what's up? Where's the baby?" It's like, "Oh, are you still doing that fight thing? Yeah, you should win."
Oh yeah, and doesn't he say something like he hasn't seen the baby yet?
Yeah, he
Like, he's
refuses to
Yeah.
see the baby.
Yeah, we'll see him.
Yeah.
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 The child's gonna be fucked up.
Yes.
It was also a month premature, which is like most of that time is spent in an incubator anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Not to bring down the house here, but they took a little bit of license on the hospital stuff. Chances are, if she lost that much blood, she'd be intubated in the ICU. She'd be, probably induced coma, which would have been more realistic. But, what do I know?
But the kid being fucked up is actually a plot point in many of the later movies. This kid ends up
That is
very
true.
fucked up, and I blame it all on the first few days of his life being spent with Burt Young instead of his parents. That is, I think, the reality of the situation.
Hey kid, you like meat?
Yeah, I got some good meat for you. I know a
break your
guy.
legs, make you a lowercase G.
The lowercase.
Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe if you like the show. Thanks to our guest, Michael Starr, and as always, thank you to C-Rock for doing the Rocky remix for this series. Subscribe to our Patreon for just $1 a month over at www.patreon.com/L2W. That's www.patreon.com/L2W. Help support the podcast by joining. You get instant access to over 45 or something bonus shows that feature us covering non-franchise classics with a new episode every single month. One more time, that's www.patreon.com/L2W. It only costs $1 to join. This show is a part of the Fandom Limb Podcast Network, so please be sure to check out some of their other awesome shows. And be sure to tune in next time for Rocky 3.